Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's Ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
And good afternoon on this Thursday as the Big 12 men's basketball tournament continues with an afternoon game. We'll update you on that and also what happened earlier, plus a couple of games that might affect the bracket, including one unbeaten that is no longer. And what does that mean for Miami of Ohio? Good afternoon, David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak. Logan Begessi and Rez running the mothership today, along with Andrew Valade is here as well. Before we get to up to Kansas City, this came down yesterday evening, the Big Ten. And I looked at this and you guys, I've said this, like, my God, every day there seems to be something that's challenging something. The Big Ten sent a letter to the NCAA to insist that they impose a moratorium on investigations and infractions proceedings related to tampering. The letter saying that they need to comprehensively reevaluate rules which are designed for a world that is no longer in existence. By the way, the NCAA has already responded to this and said that they are not going to stop. They're not going to stop tampering enforcement. And this is also an interesting note. The Big 12 and the ACC did not. They were opposed to this letter. And I think Greg Sankey even said maybe a week or 3 or 5 ago that he would like to see the enforcement for tampering continue.
Well, it's kind of a weird thing to just write a letter and be like, hey, we need to write new rules. It feels like an admission before anything's happened, because if they keep looking into it, maybe that there's a bunch of tampering, more tampering that's going on in the Big Ten. It is strange that there was that piece we had Sam Kahn about that they did in The Athletic, and it comes out and you read all the different staffers being like, yeah, you got to tamper, you got to do this. And then the Big Ten is like, hey, we better release a statement saying, like, maybe we need to change the rules. Now, maybe they're not wrong what the tampering rules are and how they enforce them and how they investigate them, but that's pretty much true for every rule that they have when it comes to enforcement of anything. But it is weird to just come out and say that and then have the other leagues kind of be, well, no, I mean, we're fine if you're investigating it if you're going to find something with teeth, but again, it is the NCAA, so probably nothing's going to come of this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what precipitated their putting this message out there, but as you mentioned, some of the conferences like the Big 12 have already come out and said, no, we don't agree with this. We want to keep it as is, and we want to keep moving forward with punishing teams. But I would ask you, who has been punished?
Nobody that I know.
What are we
of.
even referencing here?
Yeah.
Are we referencing something from 1999? Are we referencing something from 2003? We're not referencing anything in 2026 or 2025 for that matter, unless I'm just forgetting about something that was out there that they came down on. And I think to even look at what they've actually come down hard on would be an even tougher game to play to find out examples of where that's actually taken place here of late. So, I mean, there's a few things in that Big Ten request that I guess you can get into as far as the details of it go. But, I mean, this was interesting to just see drop, and I think I had the same thought as everybody initially, is like, so we just don't want to punish cheating for the foreseeable future. And at the same time, I'm going, well, I can kind of understand because it is all over the place. And if you can't really do anything, then what's the point in pretending that you can do something when you really can't? But I do feel like this is more of like, just don't punish us. We're going to let this thing run free, as opposed to really trying to have a framework and this being more about the lack of a framework. So I don't know what the Big Ten's goal is here, other than I guess they can just benefit with no rules. But, it's not something that's been widely received and accepted by everybody else.
The letter contends that the current framework cannot be credibly or equitably enforced. Untenable system with one portal window is with no contact allowed prior to the portal opening, and how rules were designed for a different era. They even mention a stat that includes 1,000 FBS football players taking visits the first weekend and 300 of them on average signing including some 90 minutes into the portal. You know what that's called? The night before the NFL starts free agency.
Well, that's why they call it the legal tampering period in the NFL. Look, the Big Ten's not wrong in that they need to revise the rules, but, that they need to revise the rules for everything. But to say we need to pause investigations, that's a weird part of it. That's a really weird part of it, that they would come out and be like, hey, whoa, let's pause the investigations. And I think most of the other teams and leagues are like, no, I kind of would like to see what comes of this. Even if nothing, I think they would at least like to see what comes of it as far as the investigations and what is accused or brought to light so that they can maybe get their arms around it, because I don't think that the conference commissioners and the athletic directors really have a good idea of how to do anything about it, because I don't think the coaches will straight up tell them if they're actually doing it because they need plausible deniability.
The letter offers a path forward to build a framework suited to the world as it actually exists.
I don't think they're wrong in that there is a new world out there that they haven't quite been able to fully wrap their arms around, and it seems like every time they seemingly get a grip on something, then that grip slips because there's some new wrinkle legally or otherwise that makes that not quite what you hoped it would be as far as something that's lasting and current and keeping up with the current time. So I don't know. I think this is one of those things where there's some valid points made, but in general, the idea of let's just stop punishing people, even though we've never started to begin with, just seems like you're opening the door to the hen house for all of the wolves to just come in and do whatever they want. And you're telling them, go ahead. There's no eat as many chickens as you want to. Right now, everything's open to be done. And I don't think that's a really smart idea for many involved. And I could see where if you're the Big 12 or the ACC or anybody who's not the SEC and Big 10, where you're immediately going, nope. You already have every advantage. We're not going to now allow you to just cheat willy-nilly with no repercussions whatsoever, even though, again, there's really no repercussions anyways, but just at least there's the threat of those, so at least somebody gives some pause, even if they may follow through and do it anyways.
Yeah, and the thing that's weird to pause investigations and let it go, Craig, it would be to me like the police commissioner of your city coming out and being like, listen, we have no way to stop bank robberies. We would like to stop the bank robberies, but our rules, the way they're not enforceable anymore. So for right now, we're going to stop all of our work on bank robberies. Well, isn't that going to make people go like, well, while I can do it, I'm going to go rob some banks?
Yeah.
Why
would you?
Yeah, man. Like, as a matter of fact, if that happened here, it's like, hey, everybody, it's not against the law in Waco to rob banks for at least the next 24 hours. So let's go knock over some banks.
Well, and again, as I said, a day or two ago, Matt Brown even tweeted this out yesterday evening. Why don't we all just please give me a folder of all the various concerns, lawsuits, all of the legal stuff, and give it to me at the end, and let's see if anything has changed. This is just the Big Ten. Maybe they're doing something that it needs to be done, might be something that makes sense, but it was like, I was like, okay, who's about to get hammered? Although nobody probably in the Big Ten would get hammered.
I wouldn't think so. I don't think there's really any smoke out there. Maybe there is. I don't search every nook and cranny of the conversation that happened out there college-wise. So maybe on some Reddit post or some corner of Twitter, there's allegations that Purdue did something wrong or something. I don't know. But I think with the whole Matt Brown comment from yesterday, I think, yes, it is incredibly frustrating to have what feels like nearly daily legal stories, and it's even more frustrating to have really no rules whatsoever, and then those who say they want rules not following said rules, and then you have everybody who's bitching and moaning, going and breaking the rules at every turn that they can possibly get to get what favor they can get. And so they're all liars. Like, they're all like doing the same thing and acting like everybody else is the problem. And again, until they police themselves, which they refuse to do, then these issues, I don't want to hear you complaining about them. But at the same time, as Matt, I think, very quickly acknowledged, nobody wants to hear the poor sports reporter crying about having to cover another legal case while they're digging ditches or paving roads. So I'll take this over that any day. It's just, it's an annoyance. It's not the thing that you signed up for to talk about. But then again, you did, because that is what college athletics is nowadays.
He does. He loves it. He loves it. I just think he got like, here we go.
Well, I think that can apply to people like us too. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it gets tiresome to talk about some of these things, especially when it's just some unresolved court case. But it also is part of the deal, and it does have major ramifications. So, I think with what the Big Ten said, there's some details we didn't get into, but we can if you want to.
No, I'm going to give you a response from the NCAA that kind of clears it up. There have been no changes to tampering rules, and there no moratorium on enforcement activity for possible tampering violations. This just came down. Any changes to the infractions process or a moratorium on enhanced enforcement of certain rules would need to be approved by the Division I Board of Directors. The NCAA is committed to enforcing the rules as agreed to by NCAA member schools and will always work with members to ensure fair competition, protect student-athlete well-being in this new era of college sports. That's from Megan Durham with the NCAA.
So what does that mean? Just
we're not stopping.
We're not doing it. Yeah, right.
They're not going to do it. And this will be something just to kind of monitor.
But
let me give you guys.
I think they're also saying, look, I'll translate this a little bit further. She's not saying that the rules don't need to change. She's just saying there are rules in the books that we're going to enforce.
Right.
They can't change just by someone sending out a memorandum.
And saying you got to stop trying to enforce them is just kind of a weird request. Like, hey, can you stop until we make new rules? Like, no, why don't we keep trying to figure out, the best way to do this, and then we'll make rules based on what we find. Now, the NCAA has to be better at that, but even still, this is one of the rare times I'm going to be like, I'm kind of on the NCAA side here. How many rules can you take all the teeth out of, or tell them not to enforce before
and get your lawyers in the room
before they're sitting around? They ask the boss, "Can we get a PlayStation here?" It's boring.
Yeah.
So as far as what the Big Ten said, I mean, outdated framework, current guidelines designed for a world that doesn't exist. I mean, that's true to an extent. That's actually happening.
Yeah.
Transfer portal data that they showed that there's 1,000 FBS players who entered on January 2nd, took visits the same weekend, and they say that these visits mean that you had to coordinate them, you had to plan them in some fashion, and that can't happen within hours. So they're saying it's already that's the proof that they're already breaking the tampering rules as it is, and they're setting up these visits in advance. So if that's not being enforced, then we might as well just let it rip, I guess, is their point. They also talked about, in regards to the pre-portal communication, that the athletes have to take these unnecessary gambles because they're forced into a tight window and there's no pre-communication, even though they basically say, yes, there is. But they're saying it so that they basically just strip that from being a thing, and it's just all allowed. And then they talk about the House settlement, which, was thought to be a something, and really it's turned into a nothing as of right now. And they acknowledge that, and they say even though that brought along direct revenue sharing, it makes everything now unworkable as far as the structure goes. So I'm not saying that's not all valid, but I do think that just saying all right, no cops for the next 6 months, everybody just behave yourselves is not the solution to things being outdated already.
You remember that? By the way, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark adamantly opposed to pausing tampering, open to discussion on rule reform, which the NCAA is currently doing.
Remember that commune in Seattle a few years back that they were like, we don't need police. We're going to have this little area and it's going to work out fine. A month later, they're like, no, we got to stop this. This is a bad idea. And that's just, it's so weird to just say, hey, before we change the rules, let's just stop enforcing them. It sounds like a trick to get everybody to be able to have a mad dash.
Or maybe they just felt like nothing else was going to be legal today, and they felt like they needed to see if there was something that needed to be changed, because no one's ever happy with anything when it comes to, other than watching football, which millions of people and more than ever before are doing.
Well, this isn't just football.
Yeah.
This is also basketball. I mean, where could you find some tampering and some NCAA violations going on in the Big Ten? Okay, in football, I think there's probably some good candidates. In basketball, I bet you there's some good candidates. So I think that probably applies to almost
I would think every sport.
school.
Yeah.
I mean, every league, every sport, there's some level of that. But yeah, they want to pause enforcement. They want to reevaluate the rules and build a new framework, and they also want that to include like anything that's even just pending right now. So imagine something that's 8 months down the road. They're like, yeah, just toss that to the side and just take a timeout on that. I don't think that would sit well with the investigators. Not that too many people are concerned with their feelings on this matter, but yeah, I think it's a kind of a strange request, somewhat understandable, but clearly pretty much everybody else. I don't know, Greg Sankey's more talking about, yeah, there needs to be a change, and we're going to basically, at this point, he's basically saying we're going to go do our own SEC framework and just get around you guys.
Yeah, we're going to get to that a little bit later on, more specifically of what he's talking about.
So we've heard from your Mark. Sankey's already talked at length about wanting to do his own thing, and then so there's already others pushing back. So, yeah, this is the Big Ten throwing it out there, and so far it seems to be getting rejected pretty widely.
And Jim Phillips, we remain focused on enforcement, building the necessary rules and penalties. We are in an environment. He also saying that administrators, that tampering enforcement must be prioritized, but it doesn't mean he wants it to be delayed until they change the rules. Let's discuss basketball. Earlier today, Iowa State mauled Texas Tech, 75-53. Tech had two players, LaJuan Watson, Christian Anderson, who in the postgame saying that they felt like the court, just saying what they're saying, may have contributed to some injuries. I thought this would be a great game, like 80-78, something like that. Iowa State jumped on them early, won by 22, and looked damn good doing it in front of, even though a lot of Tech fans always travel, a massive crowd, of course, in Kansas City with the Cyclones. Right now, at halftime, 46-20, Arizona blowing out UCF.
Yeah, Iowa State was just in control the whole time, and I wouldn't even say that they played their best game that they could play offensively. They had a couple guys who were making shots, and that's all that they needed to do, but Tech was ice cold and just couldn't really get anything going. And this is one of those games that, in the aftermath of JT Toppin, you kind of watch it and say, like, yeah, man, it would really have been nice to have him there, because when you play a team like Iowa State, you need somebody who can muscle up on both ends. That they don't really have. I mean, there's not another JT Toppin. They've done well without him. They've won games without him. But this is the time of year where you need the studs. That you absolutely need them. You look around all the country. There's some guys that are out. Like, I think UNC and Tech are kind of in the same boat where, like, Tech doesn't have JT Toppin. UNC is not going to have Caleb Wilson, and the teams just are not going to be able to run with the big bulls there as much as they would have had those guys been there, even though they might still be good teams and might get a win in the tournament. I think that you kind of saw it today with Tech that they're overmatched with Iowa State.
It seems like Tech has run out of gas.
Yeah.
And then, again, nothing's going to be any easier with the start of the tournament, sometime next week, wherever they might be.
Well, Lipsey was good as usual. Jefferson was really good for Iowa State and had a huge game. And, that was a really nice win for them, kind of solidifying their place as one of the higher seeds, and certainly – can bump themselves, I think, a little bit where they to go and win out and win this tournament, get themselves a nice, strong 2 seed. Whereas with Texas Tech, it kind of feels like they sort of are what they are, and obviously can't do any more to improve their stock. So I think they'll be what I was seeing them earlier is like a 4 seed, something along those lines. So that feels like it's probably pretty locked in. So Iowa State can still stand a game. But, yeah, Texas Tech's like a 4 seed. We'll see what draw they get, and we'll see the extent of this injury. I saw an update from one of the TV stations in Lubbock, I believe, and Christian Anderson strained a muscle while slipping on the floor during an inbounds pass. So that happened less than 10 minutes into the start of the game, and he was grabbing at his groin. So that is in fact probably what it is, or some type of a muscle strain. But it could have been a lot worse. And I mean, the conversation around the court continues. I think the sentiment that I've kind of seen now at this point, I mean, AJ DeBanza was talking about it last night. I mean, various players. The one thing I don't get caught up, especially as much as you do, in like Twitter comments, because I know a lot of it's like it's some random foreigner just like trolling, or it's some 12-year-old or whatever. But I did see a couple comments that seemed like they were legitimate fans. They're like, why are we only hearing from the losing team about the court? And it's like, that's not true at all. BYU's won their games. AJ DeBanza was talking about it's cool. I appreciate the effort. I like that it was a cool idea trying to do something different. But I can't recall if it was exactly him, but it was amongst the comments of guys on winning teams saying, this is nice, but it's not necessary. We really don't need.
And it's a little slippery.
It's a little slippery.
Yeah.
And yeah, some guys do believe it's slippery, and that came from guys on winning teams. So I just saw that why are only the losers? And I know that's probably very, very much a minority opinion, but I just wanted to address that because I know it's coming from the winners as well. And yeah, the mixed opinion just continues on, and I think it's starting to veer more towards the negative as far as this being a regular thing every year.
Yeah, Sebastian Mattson, the losing teams and the people who actually went to the game, everyone we spoke to, he's in Kansas City, between games complained about it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it's
not sour grapes.
No, it's not sour grapes.
Yeah.
It's just this is maybe a little over the top. We appreciate the effort, like you said, Craig. Also, it is obviously, and from Texas Tech Twitter, this is Brett Yormark's assault on Texas Tech. First, he took away the tortillas after the kick, after halftime,
Paul, of
course. then he made the floor slippery. So
you guys are feeding the beast.
Yeah,
of course.
Good.
You would definitely, as commissioner who wants to be super successful and draw as many eyeballs, take one of your biggest brands and try to sabotage them. That would that was exactly what you would do as the commissioner of a conference.
But that's how you do a sports psyop. There is you do sabotage the best one and not the worst one.
Yeah, it's again. I also think part of it is people just don't like change. I actually thought when I saw it in the room next door, Andrew's bedroom, by the way, it seemed like, that it almost looks like the 3-on-3 court and like a rec center type of basketball court when I saw it just a minute ago when Iowa State and UCF were wrapping up the first half.
Well, I don't know what the return on investment has been for the business that provided the court and their whole enterprise, but they've certainly got a lot of attention, some of it positive, some of it negative. I do think that technology, maybe it's not best for a full-blown basketball court, but I think there's definitely something there. Again, I encourage you to go watch the Arizona State men's basketball video from 2 days ago. And all it is a minute of these guys running around, and they're putting a globe on the court, and they're like, I'm from Lithuania or wherever. Here's where I'm from, and they're pointing down to the court. They put a track on the court, and they're running around the track on the basketball. They were doing everything but playing basketball, but they were having an absolute ball. So I definitely think this technology is awesome. I just think it clearly needs some adjustments, and maybe it's not just best served for this type of an event. To be put on display.
Or it has to just get tweaked a little bit to prevent some of it going on.
There's definitely some cool things about it, but I did watch a game earlier, and it was very dark. It was very dark.
But, dark on the court or dark?
The whole experience of watching it was dark because the court's so dark. So everything looks darker. The players.
Somebody said that in the chat.
Yeah,
too.
Everything just looks like it's on a different setting where the whole thing's just darker. You need to brighten up the screen a little bit.
Yeah, and a lot of it is in every arena that hosts any kind of a game of this magnitude or anything in the rest of the way, they're going to darken the outside of the court. They do that. They've always done that. But I wonder if the combination with this court makes it look even more, gloomy. Also, tonight in the Big 12, 2 games, Houston, BYU. And then TCU, they've won 9 of 10, lost by 4 at Allen Fieldhouse earlier the year, 104-100. They're playing KU. That game will tip after the Houston-BYU game is done, and then a 35-minute wait.
It looks like Arizona's going to win.
Really?
And they are going to be a top seed. Houston's still trying to be a top seed if at all possible, just depending on how everything goes. BYU's obviously very much in the tournament regardless of what happens, but they can kind of jostle for a slightly higher seed as well. And they're starting to scrap here at the end after the last few weeks being very much a drag compared to how high they were flying there for a good while. The injuries, or the injury to Richie Saunders in particular, you've seen the downward slope after that, and now they're starting to try and just win as many games as they can here at the end, and they've improved themselves a little bit, so that ought to be a fun game. And I know BYU's already been talking about, they've already in their media sessions been talking about the previous meeting and how they felt they kind of let that one get away from them. So they're confident rolling into tonight. And then TCU and Kansas. I mean, who the hell knows what Kansas team shows up, quite frankly. But they obviously can stand to improve. And, TCU Also, been a very quiet story, but a solid story. Just you look up and you're like, yeah, they're in the tournament, and they're good, and they're solid.
They have the longest, tied with Arizona for the longest winning streak in the conference with 6 right now. 9 of 10 they've won. Now, a couple of notes on coaching changes that are, one for sure, Arizona State. Just thought I'd bring this up. Bobby Hurley, 11 years. We told you even before the show ended yesterday that his time at Arizona State was official. This is from Tim Healy, who is the broadcast voice. There's Arizona State thanking him for the 11 years. This was a thing that was just time to move on, a time to look at a different direction. But this was unpopular in certain ways emotionally because there's a lot of people at Arizona State that love what Bobby Hurley brought to the table. From Tim Healy, I hope Arizona State fans realized how privileged we were to have one of college basketball's most iconic players serve as the Sun Devils head coach the past 11 years. I know how privileged I am to call Bobby Hurley my friend, wishing CBH and his family all of the best. And one of the names John Wilner brought into the mix, by the way, there's going to be a lot of names, but Randy Bennett was one of the names. He said they should start with Randy Bennett, end with Randy Bennett as far as the interview process, and somebody that is a part of college basketball. Yeah, replacing Hurley with a more unlikable coach would be tough, but that would do the trick.
Yeah, I mean, there's some candidates out there, though. That's based on what I'm watching. But, yeah, like we kind of said yesterday, I think the send-off from ASU fans was cordial, respectful. I mean, certainly there was some that are probably 20 years old and fresh off 8 beers watching that game saying, F you, Bobby Hurley, get out of here. I think I saw some of those people, but I think for the most part it was all very much, hey, 11 years, dude. Like, 11 years. There's no, well, we're pulling the cord too quick, or it hasn't been long enough. It's like, no, you've had over a decade. So he did some really good things there. They're not known for their basketball. He allowed them to have some pretty good basketball moments, but it ran its course. And it's time for a change, and I think change can be good. Look at Kenny Dillingham. Look at Molly Miller. I think you hope for the same type of thing in basketball, and I don't see why you don't feel like you can do that. Now, there are some issues like your arena and things that I'm sure the next guy in charge wants to be reassured of what the investment's going to be and what he's going to have at his disposal, especially when you're not just going and taking the Arizona State job. You're saying, take this job. We're not known for basketball. Some of our stuff's probably outdated or is outdated. You're going to have to deal with this, that, or the other. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you got to play Kansas and Houston and Tech and BYU and all
Arizona,
these big bankrolls. Arizona is obviously the team I was going to get to. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Arizona, who you know all about. So, yeah, I think that it is, it's a tough job, but I think it's going to be one that people are going to be after, yeah.
There are 5 Power 5 jobs open right now, currently. It's Kansas State, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Syracuse, and Arizona State. So 5 of them. Arizona State's it's a good institution, but it's also probably the 4th job on that list.
I would think
for
that they
basketball.
have issues from facilities to commitment and more with their basketball program.
I mean, if I'm going to rank them, I would just say that Syracuse is the best one that's open. And what Syracuse needs to do is certainly move on from out of the Boeheim tree, so he can, like, he's retired. Don't let him have his hands in it. And then Kansas State is a huge basketball. They love basketball there.
I think they're going to pull the trigger pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then I'd say Georgia Tech and Arizona State and Boston College, in that order. But yeah, those top 3 are all schools with a lot better basketball acumen than Arizona State.
Eric Galko will join us in just a minute. He's the football operations director for the Shrine Bowl, and Cincinnati is one to look at as a possibility of Wes Miller, because I saw a lot of the same tweets you brought up, Craig, about blank you, get out of here. He's been there 5 years. There's also a question of whether or not he's gotten enough for them to win, and has he turned the corner? But, of course, a disappointing loss for them in the tournament, and so that is one to watch for, too. Now, Eric Galko will join us next from he's the football operations director for the Shrine Bowl. We will also today hear from Colin Klein, head coach at Kansas State, back at his alma mater, and today we will have Kevin Flaherty join us from T-Mobile Arena up in Kansas City, and this is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas, my dentist, and man, I'm glad he is Dr. Steve Childress, had gone a few years where I was hit and miss, and it's my fault, about whether I just went every 6 months to get my checkup, dental work, especially as I got older. Am I keeping them, like, I guess you could say, cavity-free? Is there anything building up that I got to be careful of? Everything okay? And I remember going in during COVID and went in to see him, and he said, okay, we've got 2 or 3 things that we got to fix them, but because they're not going to get any better. And he did. And he really made a difference, and it's not that worry in the back of your head. And so when they called me 6 months later for a teeth cleaning, I was there. And 6 months after that, and recently too. Dr. Steve Childress has helped my dental work get so much better, healthier, and taken care of some of the issues that I didn't take care of enough. Stonewood Dental, my dentist, Dr. Steve Childress in Robinson, Texas.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
The experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire
We
panels.
have pallets of batteries.
What about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
We have known Eric Galco for a long, long time when it comes to scouting and projecting the NFL draft, the college players, now the football operations director of the Shrine Bowl, and of course coming off the NFL Combine recently, and now Pro Days have begun, and he joins us live on 365 Sports. And Eric, thank you very much for your time. Did I read a note, and I wish I would have saved it because I usually do that not as many people are attending the Combine as before? Are people just be able to see so many things now live online? Is that right?
Yeah, this year was the fewest number of combine invites in at least the last 10 years, and maybe longer as well, with 317 players. And it's not because players are opting not to be there, it's because NFL Combine has not invited that many players either. So I think it was a mix of how many guys NFL teams unanimously want to see. Keep in mind, NFL teams vote on who they want to see at the Combine. Not as many teams voted for a lot of guys to be at the Combine, which I think tells you that NFL teams don't feel it's a very strong class, don't have a lot of consensus on who those late round picks may be. And we might see a very risk averse draft this year of teams taking big school guys, guys at the Combine, guys at the top two All-Star games, because it's not considered a very deep class this year.
Eric, it is not deep at quarterback. It's not particularly deep at running back early. It's a little bit deep at wide receiver. Where would you say it's not deep the most outside of quarterback, which is kind of obvious?
I think running back, I think we'll have one of the fewest. I study the draft and who's going to be and how many positions to be drafted and kind of predict the draft as best I can. I think we'll see one of the lower running back totals in the last couple of years, not just in the top half of the draft. I think you're right there. We'll see one go in the first round, maybe two or three go on day two, and then even fewer than usual on the early day three side. And I think offensive line won't be a huge area, especially at tackle. I think we'll see our lowest number of tackles. We'll see a lot go in round one and round two, but I think after that it'll taper off pretty quickly. And conversely, I think tight end is loaded this year. We'll see probably a close to the record number of tight ends in the last 2 decades, edge rusher, and defensive line strong as well too. So there are some pretty glaring positions: quarterback, running back, offensive tackle, 3 of the biggest ones, safeties as well, where we're going to see a pretty historically low number of them drafted.
Eric, I know we're talking 2026 draft here, but I've seen others point this out. We actually had a segment on this the other day, the potential of the 2027 quarterback class. Are you just like slobbering at the idea of what that could possibly look like? Because when you run down the names, there are some guys who would have to decide, but if they do, I mean, it would be absolutely insane to see what that might look like in a year from now.
Yeah, I feel like we do this every year, though, right?
Yeah,
Like, next year's class is going to be better. I think the real way to judge a future quarterback class, and I do this with NFL teams all the time, is, hey, who are we really confident is going to be a guy that'll be a top 2 round pick? Like, just go floor. What's the likelihood? A couple years ago, hey, we knew Caleb Williams and Drake May were going to be first round quarterbacks in some area, right? And then Jaden Daniels emerges, and then Bo Nix kind of hits his ceiling, Penix, etc., and then it kind of blows up from there. When you don't have a lot of consensus quarterbacks, usually being 1 or 2 guys puffed up a little bit. And I think if you look at NFL right now, most teams kind of have their first and maybe their second quarterback already kind of filled, which kind of tells you that teams are saying, hey, after the Raiders and Mendoza, I don't want to go into this draft class and needing to draft a quarterback, which is why I think we'll see only 1 or 2 go on day 2 of the draft, maybe only 1 in the first round as well. We'll see where Ty Simpson and probably Drew Largo. But I think to your point, next year's quarterback class looks much deeper at the top of that class. You got guys like Darian Mensah and Brendan Sorsby, who, hey, both those guys might have been first round picks if they came out in this year's draft. CJ Carr, and a lot more. The list goes on. I think you see 8, 9 guys that all could be top 10 level players. They hit their ceiling, and you got to imagine at least a couple of those guys will. So I think you're right that next year's quarterback class is really viewed pretty highly.
It is amazing. Ohio State, not surprising, like the Ohio States or Georgia or even Alabama during some stretch, but how many great players it seems like they have, like guys ready to go right away, and what Styles did, and of course what Caleb Downs and others. Has there ever been a deeper 4 guys in the top 12 or 15 or any time recently?
From one team?
Yeah.
I can't remember it. I mean, not since the Pete Carroll USC era or maybe early Nick Saban, where there's so many guys at the top there as well. And I think it's a credit, and what I think we're going back to in college, hopefully pretty soon here, is, hey, what do those guys have in common? Almost all of them stayed at one school, developed. Now it's Ohio State. It's come to the top of the market from NIL dollars, and obviously a great program. But I think a lot of success that teams having and teams are trusting in early in the draft are guys that were developed by one group of coaches or one coach their entire college career. Right now, talking NFL teams, they just feel a lot of players are not quite ready for the NFL tomorrow to play early on as rookies. And teams want to draft guys in the first 2 rounds that can contribute early on in their NFL career. So right now, NFL teams are kind of reckoning with the transfer portal and guys moving around, and they're kind of realizing, hey, a lot of these guys may not be able to help us in year 1, but we have to still take them in the top 2, 3 rounds because they're talented. So I think NFL teams are going to reward players more and more at big programs who are there for a couple years and have been developed. And that's why I think Ohio State is going to be super top heavy in this draft, because a lot of these guys were developed by the same group of coaches their whole college career.
Eric, do you think that that the defensive end position is one of the better ones that we've seen with Ruben Bain, even though he's got T-Rex arms, with, I guess, Arvell Reese, you could probably throw him in there, the pass rush, David Bailey, all that at the top?
Yeah, I think edge rusher is one of the deeper spots in this class. But I will say, as much as I love David Bailey, and obviously I think Ruben Bain's a special player as well, these guys are not historically guys that go in the top 3-4 picks of the draft. And I think that's why there's classes between those two guys, or the two offensive tackles, Noah and Fano, who are really good players. But I think in most years they'd be back into the top 10 or early part of the teens. We're looking at a class at the very top that is lacking a lot of star power. And again, it's going to be Mendoza 1. It's going to be Arvell Reese 2. I think it's going to be Noah 3 for the Cardinals. And then after that, you're looking at a team saying, hey, I'm not sure I love any of these guys to be a top 5 pick. And everyone's going to say, oh, we'll trade back and get picks for next year. Well, everyone's thinking the same thing there as well, too. So I don't expect a lot of trades early in the top 10, maybe a little bit of 1 or 2 pick maneuvering. But I think NFL teams see the depth of the edge rusher in this class and say, hey, you know what? Instead of maybe trading up for David Bailey, let's just hang pat and get Romello Height or other guys like him later on day 2 and day 3. It's one of the deeper spots in this draft class for sure.
Where is a Jacob Rodriguez positioned at this point in your mind?
You know, we talk a lot about how the running back position's been devalued by NFL teams. Linebacker's been even more so and more aggressively, especially if you're not kind of these toolsy, versatile, high-end athletes. Which Rodriguez is a great athlete, but he's not a Sonny Styles line of player where NFL teams think they can design their whole defense around those players. But in this kind of draft class, I keep going back to it, it's not very deep. It's not very top-heavy either. Teams are going to draft in a risk-averse way, meaning, hey, if I draft a guy in the first 2 or 3 rounds, that guy has to hit and help us. I'm not worried about what his ceiling may be. I want to make sure his floor is high enough to help us right away. And that's Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, this guy is clearly going to play in the NFL for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. He's clearly going to be a Mike linebacker. He showed at the combine he's athletic enough to be a 3-down guy and works out on the sideline. I don't think round 1 is going to be in play, but if you told me a playoff team at the end of round 1 is like, hey, you know what? Screw it. Let's just take Rodriguez and get our linebacker of the future, I wouldn't be surprised. So don't be surprised if guys like Rodriguez or other running backs or safeties who are kind of devalued positions, teams in the back end of round 1 or early to mid round 2, just say, you know what? Forget value. I need guys that can help us. This class is lacking those guys, and Rodriguez certainly fits that.
A couple of guys that I like to find, I don't know if there would be diamonds in the rough, but unique stories like Landon Robinson at Navy with the year he had, interior defensive lineman who was dominant. Where does he fit, and what kind of combine did he have?
Well, for one, he surprisingly to me wasn't invited to the NFL Combine, but had a heck of a pro day at Navy.
Okay.
And that was the big story. NFL teams, I think area scouts were surprised that he didn't get enough votes to be at the NFL Combine because he had an All-American season. And I remember watching, I was at 2 Navy games this year, I was at the Army-Navy game. I mean, it's always a sign of a player when you don't have your roster in front of you and you keep, like, who is that nose tackle every time? Where you keep noticing the same guy without knowing his number because that's how dominant he is. And the coolest part for Landon Robinson, not only did he test like this player, but he's working out with all offseason with Aaron Donald, who, again, undersized D-tackle, productive in college. Now, he won't be the 9th overall pick like Aaron Donald was a decade and a half ago, but I think NFL teams are saying, you know what? Every year or two, there's one of these guys who are a little bit undersized and are outliers. We had Aaron Donald, Grady Jarrett, DeAndre Sanat, Kobe Turner with the Los Angeles Rams. I think Landon Robinson is one of those guys as well, too. And I think he, among a couple other guys, are going to be one of these few non-combine guys that NFL teams are going to try to sneak into their drafts in round 4, round 5.
Eric, the Cowboys picked up a 3rd-round pick, trading Osa Odigizua, and they really need as many picks as they can get because of the holes they have in their roster. They don't pick until 12. What is the best that they can hope for at a position of need there at 12?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't add at least 1, probably 2 defensive linemen to their rotation as well, too. And especially for the Cowboys, they're now a pretty top-heavy roster with a lot of really good players making a lot of money on their defensive side of the ball and, of course, a quarterback and receiver on offense. So I think they're going to want to draft those positions and try to backfill and kind of have these 2 contracts be together. I think at 12, 2 guys jump out to me, Peter Woods of Clemson, Caden McDonald of Ohio State, both guys that can play in the interior, can complement their current defensive linemen. Of course, they traded Odigizua and Solomon Thomas, so have a pretty glaring need at that kind of 3-5 tech, what hybrid role they play for those D-tackle spots. And I think Peter Woods would be a fantastic fit at 12. But again, this draft class is really deep, I think, where the Cowboys need depth. Defensive line, interior offensive line, maybe receiver, another tight end behind Jacob their tight end, drawing a blank on his name right now,
Jake
as
Ferguson.
well. But I think, thank you. But those are the three spots I think the Cowboys need depth with, and this draft class has a lot of depth to be there on day 2 and day 3 of this draft.
Eric, we've talked to you before about all the Texas Tech guys, and I asked you about Jacob Rodriguez. They're very well represented. Seems like Kenny Dillingham's got something cooking down at Arizona State. I mean, Jordan Tyson's the headliner, but they've got a pretty good little crop of guys, don't they?
Yeah, and I think they're going to have more in the future as well, too. They do a great job of developing these guys as well, too. Even the later day 3 guys like Miles Rouser, who are going to be a good player of the NFL and a guy who NFL teams from interviews, they trust him to be a guy that can lead the back end. Certainly Keith Abney, probably underappreciated with how talented he is, and he's going to be a guy that I don't think will be a first-round pick, but can definitely slide in there as well, but he'll be an early day 2 player as well. And I think we've seen from the last couple of drafts that Arizona State guys are making impacts early in their NFL career. I think Dillingham has done a great job in valuing development, having these guys be prepared for the NFL level. I know Kenny has brought in a lot of NFL coaches, NFL personnel in to talk with his players and talking to guys like Keith Abney or Jordan Tyson, or even, Sam Levitt, who now left the program, but he is better off because of what Arizona State did and develop him as a person and a player. So I think Dillingham is kind of structuring things and doing things the right way for developing these guys, not just to win games at Arizona State, but for the NFL. And that's why all these guys are really impressing NFL teams in the pre-draft process, particularly in the interviews.
I read a couple articles about the Max Crosby trade being called out by Baltimore, about how much did they damage perhaps their reputation with agents or whatever else. It's not the first time. What was your reaction when you first heard the news about Crosby no longer being a part of that trade with Baltimore?
Well, my first reaction was I'd imagine Trey Hendrickson was going to go there, which happened the next day.
Yeah.
Right? Had a backup plan for sure as well. And I think for NFL teams, there's only 32 of these guys. And I think sometimes we underestimate how much work goes involved in being a GM. But I know these guys, and it's sometimes not dissimilar to your fantasy football league. I know, guys like Howie Roseman are calling other GMs and just kind of gauging interest every single week of the offseason, just saying, hey, if you ever did trade that guy, what do you think of him? And I think a lot of these NFL GMs have a real fraternity to kind of work together and be competitive but not adversarial. And I do wonder if in Baltimore's future, if it's going to be harder to get kind of these deals done. And keep in mind in the NFL especially, because these contracts are not guaranteed, there always takes some restructuring and changing as well, that agents are really involved in these trade processes, like you mentioned, for Max Crosby. And, I think the Raiders and the Ravens probably going to have some issues moving forward, but also Wasserman, Max Crosby's agents, who has a lot of great players in the NFL, are going to maybe wonder, hey, if I sign a free agent deal with Baltimore, are they going to back out of this? Are they going to change things? Can I take their word that if they give my guy a 1.5-year guarantee, he'll be there for 2 years? So I think there really are some domino effects, which has been well reported. But I think in the end, Baltimore Ravens are one of 32 teams. They're a great front office, a great scouting team. They got a great head coach and a great coaching staff overall, that I think free agents and players still want to go there, and they'll still be able to get their job done. But I think it's been properly reported that this is going to be a real question mark for the Baltimore front office for at least the next couple of years.
Eric Galko with us, again, Director of Football Operations for the Shrine Bowl. So every day, are you getting various feedback from others along with what you're doing by watching tape, film, whatever else? Give us a normal day for you right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my job these days is consulting and working with the pro and college teams I help with. And I think right now from the NFL perspective, a lot of it is on kind of assessing, hey, this is where our scouts versus our directors think of these guys, and are we on the right track? Are we missing something? But also, hey, we like this player. Where do you think he's going to go? And right now, NFL, especially decision makers, are trying to figure out, hey, we're starting to get a sense of which guys our coaches, our scouts like, and how they could fit in. But where are these guys going to go, right? We're getting quick to the NFL front office mock draft season in terms of, hey, we like so-and-so player, but can we get him in round 3, round 4, round 5? Can we try to double dip a little bit? And that's one area that I can help a lot of NFL clubs out, especially as we get to late March and early April as really draft meetings happen. So for my job right now, it's the consulting that I do across the NFL and college landscape, which can be pretty robust at times, but also making sure that NFL teams know where our guys are going to get drafted, and hopefully helping our guys at the Shrine Bowl get drafted as early as possible, because this year should be a new record number of draft picks for us at the Shrine Bowl.
Last thing, how much more analytical, with all the measurements, the times, etc., has the draft become, or has it?
I think we're getting there. I think it's probably a little bit overrated in terms of how much NFL teams are using it. And at the end of the day, we're not at a spot where a GM is going to not trust his opinion or his number one scout's opinion or a coach's opinion in favor of like focusing entirely on a data solution as well, the way they do in the finance industry or other sports as well, or baseball. I think we're getting closer. I think the real next step is going to be having NFL teams learn how to better integrate these things. I always cringe when I hear about, analytics being a part of the process. If it's not integrated, you're not doing it right. And I think the best NFL teams right now, they don't think about analytics or data. It's already part of what they're doing. And I think the teams that have that part of their ecosystem, Seattle, Los Angeles Rams, Baltimore, Philadelphia, they don't think of analytics as a different department. It's integral to what they're doing. And those are the ones having the most success and being really thoughtful about it. I think a lot of other teams are still just have a department, bring those guys in for a meeting every Friday, and then call it quits for the day too. So I think we're still a ways away from the NFL being kind of part of this real analytic revolution in sports, but it's evolved more and more. I don't be surprised to see the NFL Combine start changing a little bit and saying, hey, maybe we don't need 40-yard dash times anymore. Maybe we can do that for fun, but really have other drills that measure miles per hour, acceleration, deceleration, et cetera, as well too. So I think we're still in kind of phase one of maybe 3 phases of analytics really impacting the game of football.
Pro days are on the clock, and Eric Galko, football operations director at the Shrine Bowl, with us. Thank you for your time, Eric. Appreciate you very much. On some that are obvious names and some that might be diamonds in the rough, or maybe potential, hey, wait, this guy's better than right now a lot of people have him projected. Cowboys were sure busy the last couple of days, but everybody is with the start of free agency.
I was just going to say, I could not believe that Osa Odighizuwa traded a year after they gave him an extension. That's very un-Cowboys.
Everything they've done is pretty much so far, in from what I've seen and
it's
watched, is very much unlike the Cowboys. I thought that when the Max Crosby trade went down or died, that they somehow would end up with him, but then finding out that Dr. Cooper was a consultant for Baltimore, who's their team doctor and is known as the best doctor perhaps in the NFL, that he himself probably felt like it was a risk, and so that might have kept Dallas from getting involved.
And
too.
look, if the Cowboys think it's an injury risk,
they're going to go for it.
I mean, then they're not going to do it because they don't believe in most injuries.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly all right. When we come back, Kevin Flaherty is at T-Mobile Arena, the Big 12 tournament, and I tell you what, UCF was getting bludgeoned by Arizona. This back up to a 17-point lead. It got down to 12. We'll check in with Kevin Flaherty about the games today, the games tonight, and much more. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco with brand new renovations front and center. And they have done a phenomenal job, led by the new general manager back at the into the summer in Nick Colwell. The Baylor Club unveiling transformational renovation, announcing reintroduction and events at McLean Stadium. They will celebrate the club, the reintroduction, and all of the new bells and whistles on March the 26th in the afternoon and evening from 4:30 until 7. Everybody invited. Maybe you're interested in a membership, but if you are, it would be a good time to go by. Refreshed interiors and outdoor spaces. Reimagined bar and kitchen. I've seen shots of it. It's fantastic. Spacious, clean, and bright. Game day and year-round enhancements also. Plus what's going to go on with the tours, tailgating, and more when football season arrives around the corner. Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Allen Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues or those sort of things. Because the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. I said I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
I think everything they rattled off about Stonewood Dental I had to get done when I got back to the dentist chair with Dr. Childress after not doing anything for a couple of years. Kevin Flaherty, Kansas City Sports Network, the Big 12 tournament. Right now, Arizona up, I think it's 12 or 13. They had that thing well above 20 and playing very well, but UCF trying to kind of make this thing interesting joins us on 365 Sports. Kevin, thank you very much for your time. So, boy, Iowa State just hammered Texas. Texas Tech might finally, I say finally, like just because running out of gas, but Iowa State seems to be in fuego.
Absolutely. And this tournament, I thought it was pretty funny. Taman Lipsey said that they tend to call the T-Mobile Center Hilton South, and that's not a bad name for it, because I think if you've been to the Big 12 tournament before, a lot of people talk about, it's a home court advantage for Kansas, maybe Kansas State. I've always felt, guys, like Iowa State has the best home court advantage when they play in Kansas City. And I know that's a big statement, but even when it's split half and half, when you've had a Big 12 title game that's been Kansas and Iowa State, the Iowa State fans really bring it. It's incredibly loud. But in addition to that, guys, Jay Billis always used to say the toughest thing about playing at Allen Fieldhouse is you got to play Kansas there. And I think Iowa State right now is playing at a terrific level and really rounding into the sort of form that you want to see. Also, when you look at this court and maybe some of the complaints about it with, it's slick, it seems to get slicker across the day a little bit. Iowa State's a team I wouldn't want to play on that court either because of the way they defend. They don't give you an inch to go any which way.
What do you think is the long-term best case scenario for a team like TCU that plays Kansas tonight?
Yeah, I think TCU right now is sitting at about that 10 seed, and I think that's probably about where TCU will stay unless they put together a little bit of a run. And it's a little bit unfortunate. We talked about it with Cincinnati, I want to say a week ago, where Cincinnati was really closing the year on a high note and playing well. It's unfortunate in some circumstances that we don't look at how teams are playing heading into the NCAA tournament, because TCU is a team that's as hot as anybody right now. And if TCU finds a way to dispatch Kansas, remember TCU was in shape to beat Kansas, was up double digits at Allen Fieldhouse before collapsing and ultimately losing that game in overtime. TCU finds a way to beat Kansas, finds a way to maybe beat Houston tomorrow. If Houston is able to get by BYU, maybe there is a chance to climb up, one more line. I said the 9 line, or the 10 line, excuse me. They're on that 9 line. Maybe there's a chance for them to get up to that 8 line, because I think TCU maybe has the biggest, widest range. If you look at like bracket matrix right now, some people have them as an 8. 9 is sort of the overwhelming pick, and then some people have them down to a 10. And so the best case scenario is you're able to take that 9, get it up to an 8 over the course of the next few games if you're able to win a couple of them, but probably not able to get into that 7 range.
So, Kevin, while we have the games going on, there's also a little bit of coaching news going on. Obviously, Arizona State making the decision yesterday to part ways with Bobby Hurley after 11 years. I don't think that came as a big shock, but now a lot of the drums beating for Wes Miller after the way they wrapped up. Just wonder your thoughts on ASU's potential, not knowing everything they have at their disposal, but there's some problems that you'd have to rectify there. But your thoughts on them, and then this possibility with Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's funny. Arizona State's in a really weird position in that I know James Harden has kind of behind the scenes backed a candidate, and I think pledged maybe to get a little more involved with NIL if they were to choose that candidate. And so I think when you look at it, that's one of the weaknesses that Arizona State has in basketball is you just don't have the NIL pull in that sport that you see in some other schools across the Big 12, whether you're talking about Kansas, whether you're talking about BYU, Texas Tech, Arizona, some of those other schools. And so if you really want to compete, it's worth asking the question of, hey, is it more worth it for us to take a swing on the coach that we believe in the most, or is it an NIL thing? Is it the sort of thing where we don't feel like we can compete at our current dollar amount? And is there a way to get James Harden behind us, maybe for a different candidate, or is he just stuck on one? And so Arizona State to me is the most fascinating coaching search, not just in the Big 12, I think, but when you start looking nationally in terms of, we'll find out what's more important. Is it the NIL money, or is it going out and getting the quote-unquote hot, fresh candidate? Kansas State obviously closing in on their candidate. That should be announced here, I would expect, within the next week or so. There are still a few guys left there. And Cincinnati, to me, I think has a chance to be better than what they've been here recently. And I think Wes Miller kind of found something late in the year. It's unfortunate it took them that long, and obviously they kind of choked when they needed to not choke at the Big 12 tournament, because had they won a couple games in the Big 12 tournament, you get to the NCAA tournament potentially. They're one of those teams kind of on the bubble, but not really on the bubble. They're below it a little bit. You win another game or two, and you would have been on that bubble with a chance to be in the NCAA tournament. Maybe that changes his fate a little bit. But if Wes Miller, 1, loses his job, and 2, is out there, I actually think that could cause a little bit of ripples on the other side of things, in terms of maybe some people looking at Wes Miller and saying, hey, could he win at this other spot? Could he win at Arizona State? Could he win, at a spot a little bit down the line? But Cincinnati, obviously a school with tremendous basketball tradition. I think the NIL spend is a little bit better than it has been at Arizona State. And when you look at that, Cincinnati has a chance to maybe land a higher tier candidate than Arizona State does.
Yeah, the thing with Wes Miller, I saw some immediate get the hell out of our program, please leave the state. And again, that's social media, but there were a couple of harsh thoughts from those who write about Cincinnati. And then it seemed like he's, like you said, turned the corner. Cincinnati has a phenomenal basketball tradition. What would be expected if, in fact, he's enough to come back for another year?
I think even with the way that rosters reset, you almost have to look at the end of the year this year as your expectation level. And I'm not saying you have to win 80% of your games, but I do think a trip back to the postseason would be the seat couldn't get any hotter. And not just maybe a trip to the postseason, you would maybe want to win a game or two while you're there. I thought Cincinnati actually built a good roster this year, but it took a while for everything to sort of fire. Mustafa Cham at the end of the year was not the Mustafa Cham that we were seeing in December, right? And those guards were not shooting as well early in the year as they were at the end of the year. By the end of the year, Cincinnati was a team that not only defended pretty well, but they were really shooting the ball incredibly well. You look at Celestine, the other guys in that lineup, you're going to be starting over a little bit. I think you lose Baba Miller. You're going to have to make some decisions. But if Wes Miller does get a reprieve and they say, hey, you get another year, don't expect anybody to buy we've got to get new players in here. It's going to take us a little bit. That seat is going to be turned up to, if not quite, 10 or 11. It's going to be in that 8 range. And there's going to be some expectations that you need to win at a higher level than you have at Cincinnati. You need to make a return to the NCAA tournament. And it may even be how do we do in the NCAA tournament in terms of whether he's able to keep that job.
How big a deal in your estimation is the floor? And I say this as I just got a text from a freaking out, we'll just call it family member of mine, concerned about Darren Peterson and the floor.
Sure. Yeah, that's been a major social media thing. If you're on Kansas social media, there are fans freaking out and saying, please do not let Darren Peterson play on this floor. Play all the walk-ons, get run from the tournament. Just keep him healthy for March Madness. And it's kind of a funny thought with all the things that have gone on this year. But the bottom line, guys, is Kansas has had one game where they've looked really good and really sort of fluid with Darren Peterson, and that came against a sleepwalking Kansas State team. And so if you're wanting Kansas to be the kind of team it could be in March Madness, where you can look at it and feasibly see a run coming, you really need to perform well at the Big 12 tournament. And so it's about more than just, hey, can you stay healthy? It's, can you go out, beat TCU, maybe beat Houston or BYU in that next game, and enter March Madness with some momentum where you feel like, okay, not only is Darren Peterson playing well, not only are his teammates playing well, but they're playing well together. And I think that's the big thing with it. I don't know that there's any actual worry, and I'll knock on wood when I say that, because I really enjoy watching Darren Peterson at full health. I'm sure you guys do too. But I don't know that it's something where you say, oh, we're going to sit this guy out, just because I think if you do, you're almost kind of dooming yourself to not be a polished or a ready-made version of Kansas when the games really count next week.
Any thoughts before we let you go on BYU Houston? You just mentioned that game coming up here in a little while. BYU, I think, confident, even though things have been tough a little bit recently. Still got A.J. DeBanza, for goodness sakes. And then Houston's Houston. That should be a pretty fun game.
Yeah, I saw one of the Kansas State players said it gave one of his teammates a migraine, the court, and said we were slipping all over the place. It's like, well, man, on a normal court, you guys might have held A.J. DeBanza to 35. but in all seriousness, he's been the one guy that you can't really say the court's been bothering at all. He's been playing just terrific basketball. And it's so unfortunate with Richie Saunders, because I love this BYU team and love the way that they competed, the way that they played with each other, and they seem to really enjoy each other. Without that being there, DeBanza's got to almost kind of pull a Kemba Walker, right? Where he goes out, everybody knows he's the best player on the floor, and he performs at a number one pick level, and maybe BYU is able to parlay that into a second weekend type appearance in the NCAA tournament. I think against Houston, the thing about this Houston team that's maybe a little bit different than previous Houston teams is previous Houston teams, they loaded you up on getting more shots than you did, right? They would turn you over more than you would turn them over, and they would kill you on the offensive glass to a level that you couldn't compete with those guys. But I think a year ago they were so good even beyond that, that even if you managed to keep the turnovers down, even if you managed to keep them from really murdering you on the glass, they could still win the game because that backcourt was so good, because they executed so well. I think when you look at BYU against Houston in this one, BYU's played, games now. You may start to see some tired legs in this one. I can't think of a team in the Big 12 you would want to have tired legs against less than Houston with the way that they press you and all of that. I do think, though, guys, that there's a very real chance that Houston gets upset tomorrow, just whether it's TCU or whether it's Kansas. If they take care of the ball, keep Houston off the glass, I'm not sure Houston has the firepower to go ahead and win that game and get into the championship game. And so that BYU-Houston game will be a fun one. A.J. DeBance is going to need to go nuts for BYU to have a chance, continue to go nuts. But ultimately, I think Houston probably does get done in that one, just because BYU is going to start to get a little bit tired now.
All right, explain something, Kevin. So
Sure.
the Big 12 has 5 really good teams, and Texas Tech, of course, has started to, I hate to use the word slip with what's going on with the court because of the Toppin injury, but all of them could make a run into the Elite Eight, Final Four. Then again, that doesn't mean they will, but they have 5 great teams. 5 highly ranked, very dangerous teams. Why then will the big chunk of 9-9 have more teams not have more teams in the tournament, and it's 8, not 9 or 10?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason is that the bottom of the Big 12 let the league down this year. And that didn't used to be the case, right? I think when you looked at the reason the Big 12 was always the top conference in KenPom, and it was like 8 years out of a 10-year period, and they're usually up fairly high. It was because the number 10 team or the number 9 team could beat the number 1 team on a given night, and there wasn't really a bad team in the Big 12. This year, there were some bad teams in the Big 12. And so when you have a team like a Cincinnati, and yes, Cincinnati had some quality wins in there, I'm not saying that, but the value of the wins against a K-State, against an Oklahoma State, against teams like that just isn't what it has been because of the size of the league. And so because of that, I'm not sure you get the benefit of the doubt when a team does go 9-9, when they do go 10-8, that maybe you would have gotten in previous years, just because they say, well, yeah, you got those games, but at the same time, the bottom of the league gave away some wins that maybe in previous years you would have had to battle for.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Enjoy the tournament. Kevin Flaherty, Kansas City Sports Network, as the Big 12 tournament. The first game earlier, Iowa State winning easily against Texas Tech, and then right now in that other game, Arizona closing out UCF with just under, I think it's now 4 minutes left in that one, 2 games tonight. Couple of notes on other basketball results from late last night and also today and how it affects the bubble watch, and a couple of other stories when it comes to college sports. That and more. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, with 5 locations in this area, the fastest growing pizza brand in America, and probably one near you. They have all the hot deals, including more toppings, more to savor. Any size specialty pizza now $3 off if you order online or call them. 1 topping pizzas, mediums, only $8.99 each. Pepperoni, the large Magnifico, only $12.99 each. And they have sides and desserts, sweets and treats, sandwiches, salads and wings, and more. It's Marco's Pizza with 5 locations. Bob Mock is the owner. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Join the celebration. It's 27 years for Richard Car Motors, and we're celebrating with big anniversary savings. Encore GX offers stylish design, a quiet, refined ride, advanced safety, and a premium interior. Right now, during Richard Car's 27th anniversary sale, save $5,000 on any 2026 Buick Encore GX in stock. Thank you, Central Texas, for 27 years. Log on, call, or come by today to find big anniversary savings now.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
This is 365 Sports.
.365 Sports, midway through the 4 o'clock hour, just around the corner at 5. K-State head coach Colin Klein joined us earlier today. We'll have that for you at just after 5. Craig's off the radar between now and then. So, Miami of Ohio, the Redhawks, unbeaten, 31-0. Travis Steele was on with us Monday. A lot of talk about should they have to run the table and win their own tournament. Well, they're not going to win the tournament. UMass, led by former K-State, one of my favorite personalities in South Carolina, Frank Martin, the godfather in many ways, losing to UMass 87-83. Frank Martin, after the game, said it would be a shame. Now, again, he's fighting for his own conference, but it would be a shame if Miami of Ohio doesn't give the conference MAC conference, 2 berths in the NCAA tournament. And there's a debate about this. And we'll find out, of course, when we get to Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I'd like to apologize to Travis Steele, who came on the show earlier this week. And, you know, I don't think we're part of the jinx, but if we are, I'm just going to apologize.
He won't come on between now and when they get if they're in the tournament. That's for sure.
Joe Lunardi at the last I looked was around noon today. Around noon, 40 minutes after they lost the game, he still had him an 11 seed. So
it would be an embarrassment, Craig. Frank Martin, if they didn't make it, it would be a complete embarrassment if this league doesn't get 2 teams in.
I agree with that. I don't think this is some football team who's in a much weaker conference than the whatever power schools or even a Pac or an American or whatever who played absolutely nobody, ran the table, and then gets one of the 12 playoff spots instead of like a Miami or something like that. I don't think that's what we're dealing with. I think the entire conversation is kind of, in my opinion, just way overblown and silly, and I feel like I'm almost being ribbed that this still is a conversation or has been such a conversation when a team's unbeaten at this point. I don't think you just easily schedule being undefeated all the way up until March in a game like basketball. I think anybody acting like you can just soft cupcake your way like you're playing junior colleges for 35 games or whatever, that's not the case here. So, their luck ran out. They had played in some close games. They finally dropped one, but it was their first loss all season. I think all of the conversation around this is absolutely ridiculous, and they should, without question, be in, and I think they will be. And I think at this point it's just kind of like keeping the convo going because maybe it's getting a lot of attention because I don't see what the argument even is. Really, at this point,
it's about strength of schedule, your quad wins compared to others who might be 17 and 15. That's where the argument is.
I understand that part of it, but I just think that as we've seen, story after story after story talk about how weak this bubble is. And we've seen the teams that they're competing against are, yes, playing in the SEC, but doing so with double-digit losses or things like that. I mean, what are we talking about? Yeah, so if they played in the SEC, would they have as many losses as Auburn? Potentially. Could they have less? Potentially. So, like, I don't think you can say with certainty that this is, well, Auburn's and I'm blanking on their number of total losses exactly, but
15 or so.
Yeah, is equal to one loss at the end of the year on March the 12th in the postseason tournament. Like, that's ridiculous. I think some of the conversation being as loud as it is probably has to do with a school like Auburn being part of who would get in otherwise, because they certainly have a very loud media and fan base, and so that's probably where you're seeing some of that come from. But yeah, it's a shame they lost, but I don't have any doubts they're not in. I don't think it's a question. I think they're in, and it's just a matter of what seed they get, and hopefully they go in there and they make a little bit of noise.
Yeah, I hope they. I'd like to get them in and then go from there.
I need your help in walking me through this argument, guys, because it's almost a complete point. But sometimes I do think that, like, when you make the argument for a team like Auburn or Texas or whoever that has more losses than a team in a lesser league, you're also kind of making the argument, though, they're like, oh, well, if Miami, Ohio was in this league, they lose more. Okay, that's a reasonable argument. But also you're like, oh, Texas has this many quad one wins, but they also have a bunch of quad one losses. So we're talking about which team deserves to go and play more quad one teams, correct? Well, the quad one losses to me also need to maybe not cancel out each other, but if you have a bunch of losses, then you are not exactly making a resume to go play good teams.
This goes back to the football playoff of the SEC thing of where our losses don't count the same as other teams' losses. Some of our losses actually count as wins in a bizarre way.
We are talking about the postseason. We're talking about you have earned your way to play the best teams, and you do that by winning. And if you lose more than other teams, that has to be taken into account.
If you're in a conference that invented football
or basketball,
and you lose, it's you played the game.
Here's the last time. So Auburn plays Tennessee tonight.
They're getting beat right now by 8 with 2 minutes left.
So that's already going on. All right, cool. So they're playing Tennessee right now. I'm just going to go back to the last time they played Tennessee. Okay? I'm going to go back to the last time that Auburn – and look, I'm not trying to drill down on Auburn. Like, I'm going to make this – it's going to make it sound like this is anti-Auburn, and that's not the case. That's just the team that keeps being, in my opinion, brought up as, like, who would be better served. So they played on February the 1st. And here is Auburn, again, not attacking the Tigers, but if, like, this is the type of team you want to throw up against, Miami's one loss – since they last played Tennessee, who they're playing right now, that game was a loss, followed by 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 a win, followed by another loss, and then a win, and then a loss, and then a win. So that is 3-8 in their last 11 games, and they lost to number 19 Vandy. They lost to number 21 Arkansas. They lost to number 16 Alabama. So you did play tougher teams, but you're not beating any of them.
Well, no. Have you earned the chance to play them again?
You guys know the answer.
Yeah, I know, but
that's why I'm trying to point out this isn't not like an anti-Auburn thing. It's just the way the system sort of is and how these conversations happen. Of like, our losses count as wins because we played the game, and I just we've seen it in football happen. We've seen it applied in basketball, and it really only comes from the same place every single time. And I'm also not trying to go down that road because I think we go down that road far too often. Like anytime the SEC gets the benefit of the doubt, it's ESPN corruption or whatever. And I think that there are times where that is valid. I also think there are times where you sound like you've been propagandized too much to the point where anything they do good is automatically some conspiracy theory, right? So I don't want to be that person either. But yeah, it does seem like especially in football, but now we've seen it the last couple years in basketball, if there is a benefit of a doubt to be given, it typically is always given to the same grouping of schools.
Yeah, it's something that we're used to, but Auburn is losing by 9 right now, 2 minutes left. Here's another team in the SEC that has a lot of good numbers when it comes to quad one wins, also a few losses. They're 18-14, and it is Texas.
Yeah.
Last night they were beaten by Ole Miss. Now here's the key. It was 76-66. Texas has now lost 5 of 6 down the stretch. They just lost to a team who's 12-19 and had lost 12 of their last 13 games. They were 12-1 steal advantage for Ole Miss against UT. Points in the paint, 50-18. Ole Miss is not very good. Now, Chris Beard had to enjoy the hell out of that, the former UT coach and Tech. They never led the game, UT. Now, UT has some really nice wins, but sometimes you just have to look at they have 14 losses too. Does that not make a difference? And if they get in, whether it's on a Tuesday or Wednesday play-in game, they're capable of, but do they deserve to be in?
Yeah, I think that, and that's a very tough question, to be fair to committees. That's a very tough question for them to answer. Okay, do they deserve to be in because you have all this and you have all this noise, but also
they just lost to a team that has lost 12 of 13 games.
I know. So
by 10.
I get it. And I don't think I think that Texas will probably get in because of the lack of the strength of the bubble teams, but if they get left out, they should not be a fan base that's like, how dare you? They'd be like, well, could have done better. Like, that's the better way to look at it. And, it hasn't, like Sean Miller early on, it's not been, I think, exactly what Texas thought it would be.
I don't know. I think he's shown what he can do, but
I don't think he has had his team yet. And even though they have a ton of money to spend all over the place, it is very clear where most of it is going right now. And not that the basketball players are sitting there living, all sharing a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm sure they're doing okay, but most of their focus right now is on the football program.
I think their roster is not really a fair thing to critique too much because I think it's very much like a transitional roster and give him like a couple of years with their NIL money and he's going to have some stars and they're going to have a pretty good roster. But yeah, I mean, they're a team that you can pick apart as well. And there's various others. I just think the Miami of Ohio thing, I think it's not even a conversation at this point for me. And it really hasn't been, but I see it just keep continuing on. And then you have a moment like earlier today where they do finally lose and everybody's like, see, is the bubble bursting? It's like, that's ridiculous. I think they're totally fine. It's a shame they couldn't close out the perfect regular season, the perfect run into March Madness, winning the postseason tournament as well. But and I can also, to be fair, see the other side. I mean, I do see who have you played kind of an argument that can take place because, to be fair to our losses count more than your wins crowd to some degree. Like if you are having to play and basketball, if you were a Big 12 team and you're playing Houston and BYU and Texas Tech and Arizona, and then you're being pitted against another team because you've taken these losses who's played like nobody like that, then yeah, it'd be one of those things where you go, well, I know they've got a bunch more losses, but look at who they played. Yeah. So that's fair. I mean, it is a fair thing to at least position, but I think losing your first game on March the 12th, come on now.
Yeah, we're talking about one bid in this tournament.
Yeah.
And if that comes at the expense of a team that has 15 losses in a major conference, I don't think that's hands across America.
No, I don't think it's going to be a thing, Paul. I really think. I think we can move on to another thing because I think they're going to be in the tournament. Yeah. And if they don't get in, then let's have the conversation further.
But it is interesting that because of the conference they're in, and Auburn's still a part of it, and Auburn trying to win today, I'm not sure if that's going to knock them out. But it is interesting that no matter the record, if you're like 8, 9, 10, 11 in basketball, you're probably going to get in.
Well, and I do
Look
think
at last year all the teams. I mean, there's 14 teams got in
there.
They deserved it.
I think last year they were so much better, and they're good. Yeah. But they were so much better last year.
But also the gap between Florida and Alabama, who's in second place in that league right now, is pretty large. Like that doesn't exist necessarily in the Big 10 or the Big 12 this year. ACC is the same. Like the ACC and SEC are the same. Like Florida and Duke, and then there's like this little gap and then nothing, is where in the Big 10 and Big 12, like, okay, Arizona's probably the best team in the Big 12, but the gap between them and Houston is really small.
Yeah.
The gap gap between you get to Kansas is really small all the way down there. And so where I think the interesting discussion is when it comes to the bubble is, okay, Texas and Auburn on the bubble, SMU's on the bubble, Cal's on the bubble. Let's throw Cincinnati and maybe UCF from the Big 12, are the power conference teams that are on the bubble. Let's match them up against each other and not put the other leagues that have some pretty good teams that might deserve to get in. Let's really measure those teams up against each other. Yeah. That's a more interesting discussion to me. SMU was really good all year, didn't close as well, but they should probably be in. Okay, so where does that put them versus an Auburn or someone like that?
But it's amazing that the Big 12 has 5 teams ranked 16th, and a lot of them are in the top 10. And they're going to get 8 in, and why don't? And I understand Ken Palm, but should they not then have some kind of whatever that is when a jet takes off?
Some runway?
No, the smoke. What do you call that? The trail or whatever it is.
The jet wash.
Jet
or whatever?
wash. Why shouldn't they have a couple of teams? And I'm not just saying it because it's the Big 12.
But who would you advocate for? Cincinnati gets in because they played in the Big 12?
Not
Baylor getting in this tournament?
Nope.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
And not even in the conversation. And yet, if you look at their record compared to Auburn,
right?
There's not. Here's the thing.
No, I brought them up yesterday.
Baylor hasn't been a part of the conversation. Not one win against a top 25 team. They're done.
But what I'm saying is that I brought up Baylor and Auburn 2 days ago, and I specifically mentioned that Auburn, the only difference was a quad 1 win, and that was as of a couple of days ago. But that was what was cited was if you blind resume, really the only difference is that Auburn's got I think it was a quad 1 extra win versus a Baylor who's not even under any consideration, nor should they be. So I can see that point of view of, well, if they get this many, why don't we have this many? But I think that's just kind of treating it as though it's this real clear, plain thing when in reality might be that, the Big 12 is a really good league. They have 7 really good teams that are all deserving, but after that there's a drop-off. And in the SEC, maybe there's 11 teams that are deserving, but they don't have as many. You know what I'm saying?
I don't
think it's just because they have this and we don't have that.
I do think the quad 1 wins and or losing games to highly ranked teams or high quad teams, I think that should be a part of the conversation.
Sure.
But it's almost as if, what would happen if there were just 9 that got in? Would the tournament not be as good? And especially when you're talking about Texas, Auburn, or even UCF or Cincinnati. UCF is in. Cincinnati in the Big 12. If there's a if the bubble is bad, then,
if Auburn played in the Big 10, would we care as much?
They can't get in, and if they can't get in and the bubble's that bad, then they're not very good. That's what I'm saying as far as their resume.
I know, but if Auburn played in the Big 10, would people be losing their minds over this as much as?
I don't know.
Because of the fact it's the SEC?
Yeah, well, they have a pretty good. They're pretty good about putting out what they want to put out.
I have no doubts that there is. I can cite the names. one of them's named Paul, another's named Peter. There's probably someone named Mary that is also an SEC propagandist. But yeah, I'm not denying that doesn't exist. I know that it does. I see it every year. But I also think that the only league I see people typically losing their minds over with these sort of things is the same league every time.
Yeah.
And that's when I get into the whole thing of, I get it, but it also starts to lose its effectiveness when this is literally the only thing we bitch about is this league when they get something one way or the other.
They have to win games. Eventually, no matter how hard your conference is, you need to win games, and you don't need to do a couple of more than you lost.
Oh, and I agree. And I'm totally Auburn doesn't. I'm with you.
No, and that's the problem with the argument with Auburn. Texas, at least their quad 1 wins, it gives them a chance because everybody else around them, by the way, they're losing too. So it's not really just their fault because they're 18 and 14. Nobody else and everybody, a lot of them, 8 to 10 teams had a chance, and none of them, they all melted. Here is Amir Khan. Do you remember Amir Khan, the manager of McNeese State basketball? They beat my alma mater, Stephen F. Austin, who's really good, beat them in the Southland Conference Championship, and they're back for another trip. Remember, Will Wade was coaching them. He's the manager that walked around with a big boom box coming out of the locker room before each game last year. I think he's back. Amir Khan is back, and so is.
I have no memory of Amir Khan
Oh, I do.
whatsoever.
Yeah, no,
I have no memory.
Logan or Rez, if you have it, it's the one that says he's back. If you have that image, so people will see the image, they'll probably know who I'm talking about. The image also says, dread it, run from it, aura arrives all the same.
Yeah, and
there he is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I kind of vaguely,
Yeah, McNeese back in the tournament. They don't have that Will Wade, swagger, but they're still really good. I mean, this is a good team.
SFA is a really good basketball program, and they beat them pretty soundly last night.
Yeah, I saw the end of that game when I got home last night, and it was. I remember walking in and going, "Oh, Smokey!" Like my first thought was,
I'm surprised I didn't get a sarcastic text.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, and neither would she. Neither would she, because she's got her own problems.
SFA is pretty good, but not good enough. Also, one more thing, Joey McGuire. What?
We don't have time. Let's save that for tomorrow. I mean, it's a whole audio piece, and we got Colin Klein coming up, so I would like to spend time talking about that. I don't really want to fit it in just here.
We had Joey McGuire yesterday on the show, and one of the questions I didn't ask much about was anything with Micah Hudson. All the wide receivers, they do need to find a chunk of them. And we will hear from Joey McGuire in a story that I didn't know about him returning to Tech last year, where he really was on the roster, and we'll have that for tomorrow during 365 Sports. When we come back, Craig Smoak, and Off the Radar, let me give you an update on the scores today, the final game. Let's see what's going on with, it's a final now as Arizona, 81-59. They move into the next round. They beat UCF by 22. When we come back Off the Radar, Colin Klein at 5. This is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics.
The reason that their service is outstanding because the people they have working, behind the desk and the folks working out in the garage, taking care of business. And they give you a date, they give you a time, and they're spot on. And they're professional, they take care of it, and they answer all your questions, and they're fun to work with.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
This is 365 Sports.
Craig Smoak and his Off the Radar. Craig?
All right, thank you. Time for a little OTR here and some stories off the main pathway here. So let's start off with what happened last night. World Baseball Classic, a lot of eager anticipation.
It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
There we go. Now you can start.
All right, thanks again. I'm here with OTR. Appreciate that, Rez and everybody behind the scenes. And let's get into some things that occurred last night with the World Baseball Classic. A lot of eager anticipation about what was going to happen with the Italy game and how that would affect Team USA and their standing in the tournament and whether or not they would still be standing as of today. But fortunately, things did go Team USA's way last night, in Italy in that big game with Mexico down in Houston beat up Team Mexico 9-1, and the crowd, you could tell, was just sort of, especially in comparison to the other game I'll get to, the crowd just dismayed because you can imagine down in Houston, that was a pretty heavy pro-Mexico crowd. We had seen them do their thing a few days prior with the Team USA matchup, even though that didn't go their way as well. But yeah, hopes here to move on into the next round and to get a win over Italy. And instead, the Italians, the American Italians in some cases, a lot of cases, but the Italians nonetheless, with a big 9-1 victory, and just an insane game as you had a 3 home run performance. Was it Vinny Pasquantino that had the 3 home? Yeah, Sasquatch that had the 3 home runs. My thing wasn't clicking up here, so I couldn't remember if Vinny was his first name. That's what I was stumbling upon.
If there's a name for the Italy team.
Well, I almost was I racist in just guessing that it was Vinny? Of all the names that I could have done.
No, that's got black slick hair.
Val or Virgil or something. But Vinny Pasquantino with 3 home runs last night for Team Italy to not only move them into this next round with a big win under their belt, but also to aid the Americans and keep Team America alive, even though they already assumed that they were still alive, as was talked about widely yesterday with manager Mark DeRosa, who then, I don't know if you saw, guys, was on doing another interview. This wasn't pulled down by MLB yet, at least, which was just a stupid thing to do. But he was asked about the not knowing what was really going on. He's like, no, I knew what was going on. He went on to mention, he's like, I knew that we were 2-0, and then immediately people pointed out it was 3-0. Like, so you didn't even have the record right in what you were talking about, which might have just been a slip, but at this point, I don't think people trust that anybody on the Team USA side knows what actually is going on. But they do know they are moving on. So Italy 9-1 over Mexico in a game that did not turn out to be nearly as theatrical and dramatic as maybe you hoped for. Canada 7-2 over Cuba. That's who the U.S. will meet next now. Disappointing showing for the Cubanos, who don't have their A-lister team because of just the way the rules are set up with Cuba, and so you don't have necessarily your MLB All-Star team like you do for the Dominicans or for Venezuela. Who knows? Maybe in the next WBC that's all changed around, but disappointing showing an exit for the Cubans, who don't move on to the next round. And then in the big nightcap, the game that everybody was looking forward to, the Dominican Republic and Venezuela, and probably one of the greatest baseball crowds of all time, I would think. I don't see how it couldn't possibly be amongst at least the conversation of the greatest baseball crowds ever. That place was a freaking madhouse. That game was all over the place. There was tons of home runs, tons of big plays, and just moments. And, the Dominicans 7-5 over the Venezuelans there in the nightcap. And it was weird because we got word that because of Team USA's standing, that the Dominican Republic-Venezuela game, which is originally going to be on main TV, got bumped for Italy-Mexico and got put onto Tubi. So guess what I did? I went home last night. I didn't go to Fox to watch Italy-Mexico. I went to Tubi to try to find the freaking Venezuela-Dominican Republic game because that's the game I really wanted to watch. I'm as American gets. But the game I wanted to see, the atmosphere I wanted to see, was the Dominicans and the Venezuelans. And I get to Tubi, and Tubi's not working because, like me, a lot of people were trying to find the Dominican Republic versus Venezuela game. Now, it eventually did get all worked out, and that Italy-Mexico game, turns out that should have been on Tubi because that wasn't even all that competitive. And I think the Venezuela and Dominican Republic game probably would have popped a much bigger rating. But nevertheless, those were the results last night. So at break in the action today as they get ready for the next round, the quarterfinal round, and this is all you win and you advance, and that's what it's all about. And so tomorrow the quarterfinals will get underway. It'll be Korea versus the Dominican Republic in one of the quarterfinals at 5:30, and then in the nightcap, Team USA still hanging on there and given second life. They will take on their rival in seemingly everything nowadays, the Canadians, as well at 7 o'clock. So that is coming your way tomorrow. Then on Saturday, you'll get the other two matchups, Puerto Rico, Italy, and Venezuela, Japan. But, thoughts on the Italians saving the bacon of the Americans last night?
Yeah, well, it's the least they could do. But, it is. And the thing is that the Italian team is mostly Italian-American guys. There are a few, true paisans from Italy, but it's mostly Italian-American guys. I saw a funny tweet that had said, why is there no Irish team? You could go through South Boston and have a bunch of guys there by lunch.
Yeah.
We'll maybe see that in the future. The Italy did the job that the USA needed them to do. It's going to be interesting, USA and Canada in that first game again, and we've had a decent little run against Canada here, lately.
Been okay.
Yeah,
I mean, outside of the Four
month.
Nations final, which I think we did a little premature celebration.
Our 2026 run against Canada has been good.
Yes.
2026 versus Canada has been good. Let's keep that going, Mark DeRosa.
On the DeRosa thing, how many AAU or select baseball coaches and parents would have known the tiebreaker?
Oh, look,
all of them.
Every
They care about
single
that
one.
stuff.
They wouldn't know. Oh no, we can't give up a run in the eighth inning.
One of Amanda's best friends has a son who plays baseball, on all those leagues, and they know they only had 18 innings out of their starters. The 12th tiebreaker is that you have to have at least 21 innings out of your starters. They know all of that stuff. And by the way, the Venezuela DR game last night in Miami, they could I wondered if they would. And if you've ever been to a wedding in Miami, no matter who it is that's from that part of Latin America, they will stop to salsa dance for anything. And so I thought it would be cool if they did that because, you see a lot of things like the Mets play a song in the sixth inning, like an Italian song. The Red Sox play Sweet Caroline. If they hit just in the sixth inning before Take Me Out to the Ball Game or the seventh inning stretch, just stopped it to do a salsa dance, I would love to see all of the players.
The whole place.
You put salsa music on with those two nations there playing each other, it would have been lit.
Yeah, well, they're very tight countries too,
Yeah.
and I think they showed that in the pregame. Almost, it wasn't backhanded towards the U.S., but it could be taken that way. The whole dust up with Cal Raleigh and Randy Arozarena and the lack of handshake, and then you had on the other side last night before that game, you had the Venezuelans and the Dominicans. They're just dapping each other up, and I think it was the first batter of the game where the clip that I saw where they're dapping each other up, him and the catcher, and it's like, look, you can still be a sportsman and get along and be friends and then get to work. And so, like I said yesterday, I think maybe the Americans take themselves a bit too seriously, which is an American thing to do. And at the same time, I can understand Cal Raleigh just wanted to play baseball, and this is high stakes, and sorry, buddy, we'll be teammates after this is over with. But regardless, no need for any of that kind of stuff. The Venezuelans and Dominicans, they share a lot of similarities culturally and are definitely some baseball-loving countries and fandoms, and you saw that on full display last night. Just an absolutely crazy scene down in Miami. So we will get on into the next round, and as I mentioned, a couple of games already, the part about this that I'm looking forward to is you are going to have now in Miami, it's going to be Korea, as I mentioned, and the Dominicans. That will be in Miami, so that'll be another crazy scene. And on that side of the bracket, it's the Canadians and the Americans down in Houston, so that ought to be a pretty good crowd for that one. So we're looking at Team USA if they win against either the Koreans or the Dominicans. And then on the other side of it, Puerto Rico and Italy, that'll be in Houston. That should get a pretty good little crowd, I would think. And then in Miami, Venezuela, Japan. That ought to be bonkers.
Where are they playing that? Are they
Miami?
In Miami?
They said, yeah,
Okay.
Miami for Venezuela, Japan. So that's that side of the bracket. So one game in Miami on both sides, and then the semis and the final will be in Miami. So we could very well see Venezuela and Dominican Republic Part 2 for all the marbles. That would be just crazy. Now, I want to see Team USA go and win this thing, but yeah, they are in a much better position than they were yesterday when everything was totally out of their control, thanks to Italy handling business against Team Mexico. So there you go with the WBC. I'm enjoying it. I've loved it. There's definitely, you wish that maybe the Americans just almost like looking out the window at the kids playing outside, having all this fun, and you're stuck because your parents grounded you or whatever. That's sometimes what it feels like watching the Dominican and Venezuelan fan bases having so much fun, and I hope there's a little bit of that for Team USA still left in the tank as well.
It is when they're not expected to be dominant and win.
So when they are, they got to be hard asses and kind of serious.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, maybe the hockey team never once was not thrilled to be involved in what they were doing.
No, and I thought that was going to carry over, and then you hear Paul Skeens talking the way that he did, and I think that it did. I'm not saying that it hasn't at all. It just did feel like these last couple of games almost like, well, you're clearly the least focused team because your manager doesn't even know the rules or whether you're even moving on to the next round. And as I mentioned, he does another interview today thinking he's going to be like, no, I knew all along that it was this and that. And he goes, we went into that game prepared to win it. I think there's a couple false narratives out there. I was well aware we had to win that game. Besides, on all the scenarios that could take place, they went in 2-0. We went in 2-0. We knew they were playing Mexico. They went in 3-0. So like he wasn't right about that. Like that's what people were pointing out. It's like, what is he doing? And so yeah, Mark DeRosa's taking a lot of hell. I would not be surprised if there's a different manager the next go round of the WBC based on what we've seen this go round of the WBC. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this shakes out, and should be some fun baseball still coming up this week in Venezuela, Japan. That's going to be insane on Saturday night in Miami. That's going to be absolutely utter insanity. So I look forward to watching that. Meanwhile, in the NFL, a lot of stuff has been going on, obviously with free agency and whatnot, but the big story was Max Crosby, and has been for the last several days. Gets traded to the Ravens, does like a 15-20-minute goodbye video to the Raiders on his socials, and thanks them for everything, talks about he's going to retire a Raider and is still going to be living in Vegas, some of his family and this and that and the other. And then, yeah, he's also excited to be a Baltimore Raven, because if you're a guy who's happy being a Raider, I would think the next closest thing would be in a Baltimore Raven. They have some parallels as far as just kind of their defensive nature and their kind of grittiness and whatnot. So it seems like it would be a fit like a glove, but we'll never know because he's still in Las Vegas since the trade was vetoed by the Ravens after a medical scare that's now become this big controversy, and that there's a debate on how much Baltimore knew to begin with and how much this was cold feet, not a sudden realization that there was something more wrong than they thought, but actually like, we're having second thoughts. We're not going to get married. I'm leaving you at the altar kind of a thing.
You mean like the two famous athletes that we used to be in Dallas? One of them, Dak Prescott and his wife?
Well, I think that was more nefarious, actually, than what's going on with Max Crosby. But you can go read the tabloids for what Dak was up to. Or Luka and his longtime
that's
gal.
unbelievable.
What a couple of years for that guy, right?
Yeah.
Just everything just falling apart. But where was I? Oh, so Max Crosby. So now he's back, and as of today, he's saying he's going to be a Las Vegas Raider. So, Paul, you're a Cowboys fan. There's been a lot of Cowboys fans who are like, let's go get Max Crosby, and then they couldn't get him, and now he's available again. And my whole thing is, well, if the medicals weren't good to begin with, why would they be good 4 days later to suddenly want him? Just your thoughts on this whole
This is very
debacle.
shady. Very shady.
It's very shady. I always admired the Ravens front office, but if they, I don't know what made them change their mind. Did they decide we really want these first round picks back? Do we not think he's worth 2 first round picks at this time? That I don't know what their motivation was, because according to his agent, most teams have known the condition of his knee and when he had the surgery and what surgery he had and all that, and they've been very willing to share it. But I am not so surprised that he wants to be back in Vegas and he wanted to stay in Vegas. That doesn't shock me at all. Maybe it just took this to.
But he didn't want to be.
Well, he was mad at him.
Yeah.
He was mad at him.
Yeah.
This maybe opened the door for them to really just put everything out on the table because he was mad, which I think he was wrong in that they wouldn't let him play at the end of last year because they have a bunch of money in him and he had a torn meniscus and they didn't want it to get worse.
Well, let's face it, he's the type of guy that would absolutely injure himself just to say that he played through it or, whatever.
So, the guy loves ball. He just loves ball. And because of that, sometimes it can make you make some rash decisions. So he was mad at them. He wanted to leave. But now maybe everybody came to the table. John Spytek and Tom Brady and Mark Davis.
Rejection will do that.
Yeah, and everybody kind of gets there like, okay, well, the Ravens didn't want me. And I'm sure Max Crosby is like, you know what? Screw you, Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, for sure.
My knee is fine. Q was on with Zach Gelb yesterday and said, I actually think, knowing Max Crosby, that he will literally eat raw meat before game. Say that he's going to be fired up. He's going to have a career year because he's playing with a chip on his shoulder.
Well, hopefully he gets healthy and we can see that. But yeah, do the Raiders and Ravens play next year? I don't know. I should have looked at that.
I'm looking it up right now.
That'll be hopefully a game where Max Crosby's available. It's not like week 1 or something.
They do not.
Okay, well, they'd have to meet in the playoffs, and that's probably dicey. But who knows? Fernando Mendoza will be quarterback in the Raiders next year. We do know that. And they will be better just based off of if you watched them last year, it'd be impossible to not be better than they were. But Crosby took to socials and said, everything happens for a reason. Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. I'm a Raider. I'm back. Run that S. So that was his message, and he remains a piece of Raider Nation.
He is a badass. Like he could be a lead actor in a war movie.
He would not be a lead. He would definitely be a bit player, but he would be
he'd probably end up getting stepping on something. And
he'd be the guy that dies in the second act or something that, doing something crazy.
It would be one of them. He would have a name like Rhino or something.
Yeah.
And it would be like Rhino, go get him.
Or
and then
Dirk.
And then Rhino dies in the fight.
Yeah.
And they're worried oh crap, we just lost Rhino. How are we going to do this without the big guy? But
So I've got one more story, but we can wait until tomorrow to talk about it, unless you want to do it here because you don't think it's worth fleshing out.
Flush it out, but we don't need a lot of time to talk about it. We don't have a lot of time to discuss it. Go ahead and flush it out.
I don't have time to flesh it out is what I'm saying. So
then hold it to tomorrow.
Okay. Well,
because it could be a topic tomorrow.
The NFL is trying to take over more TV territory, and that does affect college football, and that's why I don't want to just throw it in here on 30 seconds notice.
Another day that was empty, and they said, we'll take it.
So the NFL is going to go take over more holiday territory. You can read the headline if you want to, but as far as the actual discussion, we'll have that tomorrow when we have more time because it does bear some questions about college football and their scheduling or lack thereof and some missed opportunities and also just more real estate taken over by the NFL. So there's a few things off the radar.
Another opportunity that they did not think was important, and now it's going to be making a bunch of money for a league. When we come back, he's the head coach now of Kansas State. He was a tremendous quarterback under Bill Snyder. He was on Chris Kleinman's staff, and then he eventually went to A&M and was the offensive coordinator for Mike Elko. Colin Klein, former K-State star and legend, he will join us next, and this is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics, advanced cellular regenerative medicine. Aches and pains in your joints, ankles, knees, elbows, shoulders, wrist, back, and much more. QC Kinetics is where I've gone since September, and the aches and pains that I had, I'm telling you, for every morning I woke up in my right hip, in my lower back, it was just never leaving. I would get steroid shots, and that would kick the can down road for maybe a month, 6 weeks to 2 months. That's it. QC Kinetics has now helped me get rid of that ache in my right hip. And I've now been able to start doing more, not a lot, but jogging, which I couldn't do for 10 steps without it hurting. When I play golf, it's pain-free. After I play golf, it's pain-free. Later that night when I play golf, it is pain-free. No discomfort needed. Why would you want to keep on going down the same road when you have QC Kinetics, where they take your natural biologics inside of your body, Take it out, spin it, and put it back in wherever you've had pain, and it's gone. It will disappear. I'm telling you right now, it is a great option. They have free consultation. QC Kinetics, again, the website, qckinetics.com. Colin Klein, Kansas State head football coach with David Smoak, Paul Catalina, 365 Sports. You said in a few articles about the K-State job, and it had not yet set in. Has it set in?
No, still hasn't. You know, we're grinding away and you know, making progress every day. But I honestly, and I think I may have said this too, but I really don't think it's going to hit me until we run out of that tunnel September 5th.
So you played your whole career there, then you coached there, and then you left for a couple years. How much did that couple of years help you and change your perspective and get you ready to come back? Because sometimes easily you could have stayed there and you'd probably be in the same job right now. But how much did that time with Mike Elko in College Station change your perspective on certain things?
I think it was absolutely tremendous. I think, I think anytime you can get out of your comfort zone and out of a situation that you know very, very well, I think it's going to really, really accelerate your growth. And I think that's what it did for me. College football is different than it was 5 years ago. You know, I think there's, in the recruiting landscape and all that goes into that, building a roster and managing rev share dollars and NIL dollars and everything in between, all of those factors, getting down and being able to see and learn from Coach Elko of how you run an SEC recruiting operation, how you put together a top 10 roster that's putting double-digit guys out into the combine. Those types of things I think was absolutely tremendous. Was very, very grateful for my time down there and all my teammates down there. And I just love learning and growing. And I think that was definitely what it did for me.
Colin, could you have been through more mentors that are known as being elite, from the Bill Snyder, K-State to, you mentioned Mike Elko, et cetera. Has it ever hit you who you've been able to kind of like lean on and learn from?
Oh, it hits me every day, and it's something that I definitely don't take for granted. I mean, all of us are a result of those little decisions that we make as individuals and the people that we're around. And been very, very grateful for the path that the Lord's given me to walk, that I've been able to be around, and some of the greatest minds in this game, some of the greatest leaders in this game. And so something I'm very grateful for and definitely don't take for granted.
So as you prep for your first year, one of the best things that happened was you didn't have to worry about going to get a quarterback. You have a guy who's been there the entire time in Avery Johnson, a guy you coached early on in his career. You guys have been apart for a little while. What was the reunion like, and how excited are you to not have to, start from scratch in a new job?
Yeah, I think we were both really excited. I mean, even through the recruiting process, Avery and I are a great fit because we're both very, very competitive. We both love the game of football. We love the quarterback position, and we're good teammates. And so it's always been a fit from the very, very beginning. You don't always get an opportunity like this, to come back and be able to work with someone that you've worked with before. Credit him and what he's been able to do these last couple of years and how he's handled himself and how he's led this program and, done what he's done, even from a numbers standpoint, the last few years. And really, really excited to work together. I think from his side, too, having a level of familiarity, not starting completely from scratch, with the offense and who your play caller is going to be, and just kind of the methodology of how myself and we're going to go about it here, I think is a tremendous jump start, and I think gives him a big jump on what is a transition year.
He had such immediate success. He had the massive game in Lubbock against Texas Tech, and of course the expectations. This playing the quarterback position, it exploded, and he's been good. But do you feel like that's been kind of difficult for him to sometimes meet the expectation or handle maybe the expectations?
Well, I think some of that is the truth's always in the middle somewhere. No matter how good someone says you are, or or how bad they say you are, it's probably somewhere in the middle that way. I think Avery's ceiling is incredibly high. I think people see that. I think people know that. I don't think he gets enough credit for his makeup, his leadership capabilities, his football IQ and how he processes the game. I'm excited just to both of us put our heads down, get to work, get on the same page. I want him to play very, very aggressive, very, very free, with a tremendous amount of confidence in what we're asking him to do, what he's expecting to see, and what we're going to be going against that week. And like I said, I think I'm just really excited to work with him and see what we can do this year.
Colin Klein, head coach at K-State, with us on 365 Sports.
Colin, you played for the great Bill Snyder. How much have you, and I like to ask coaches this, especially ones that have played for legendary coaches, how much does Bill Snyder, when you are coaching, pop out of your mouth and then you realize, kind of like you said, like, oh, I'm becoming my dad. Like, how much do you say, like, that is totally Coach Snyder that just popped out of my brain and out of my mouth?
Oh, I think it happens all the time. I mean, and it hasn't just since now that I've become the head coach. I think it's happened for ever since I started coaching, probably. I'm waiting for State Farm to call me to put one of those commercials on. But no, I mean, it's an incredible honor. I think, one of the things that, even in as much as college football has changed, I think one of the things that has not changed is how moldable and the level of impact that you can have as a coach on an 18 to 22-year-old as they're forming and beginning to make the decisions that set the trajectory for the rest of their life. And being able to have Coach Snyder in that position during that time in my life, obviously individually as a person, but then professionally at that time, not even knowing that I was going to be a coach, is something that I don't take for granted in the least.
So you're now at K-State, and it seems like to me, taking over programs in college athletics with the landscape changing daily, that it either is easier because you can rebuild or build a roster even more from just recruiting because of the portal, or it's also more difficult because by the time you get there, there might be a lot of missing parts. How would you look at it?
I'm an optimist. I think wherever there's volatility, there's opportunity. And I think how aggressive that you have to be in this world to find not just the best talent or the most talented, but the right fit and the right type of person. Like, you have to make that happen. You can't just sit back and see, okay, who's going to like K-State? We're going to cast a wide net. Like, no, we have to be very, very decisive, very, very deliberate in how we build relationships, how we target talent, how we finish in those negotiations at the negotiation table. And then we've got to be very, very strong and convicted in who we are and what we're going to be as individuals and as a program to attract those like-minded people. And that's what we're doing. I think that's the only way that it truly works. And yeah, there's years that you're going to have a higher level of turnover and have to do that maybe 30 plus times, on your roster that year. But again, what an opportunity to go out and find those right fits, those right players, those right guys that believe in Kansas State and what we're trying to do and where we're trying to take it.
How much do you try to balance out high school recruiting in the transfer portal before recruiting season starts? And what your ideal goal would be to say, okay, we've got to probably, with seniors graduating and anticipating transfers, we're going to have to do this? Or is that something you almost have to react to?
Yeah, it's definitely a little of both, just because you never know. I'm trying to develop a crystal ball that I can see the future, and we'll take that and go make a lot of money, but it's because you never know what's going to happen at the end of the season and who's going to have to find and move on and what that turnover is going to look like. So, but I do think there's a world as a developmental program that we have been and that we will continue to be, where you're taking 20-ish high school kids every year. And that's the foundation of your roster as you're developing those players over time in a shorter window than you've had in the past. But then year to year evaluating, okay, what turnover did we have? Where was it? And what pieces do we need to go compete this year? You know, because that's my my vision, my goal for our team is we're going to compete every single year, and that's got to be the mentality. Otherwise, you're going to get left in the dust.
So as the head coach, you're going to call plays. That's what you've been doing. That's what you thrive at, and that's what you did taking the snap at quarterback at Kansas State. You haven't done it yet as a head coach. I know you're going to do it as the head coach. What is more intense? You're the player having to convert on a huge play to either win the game or keep the lead, or the head coach on the sideline doing that, or a guy up in the box as an offensive coordinator?
That's a good question. You know, I've only experienced obviously 2 of those 3 scenarios.
Yeah.
We'll kind of see how this third one goes, but you know, it was something that I thought a lot about for sure. I still love calling plays. I still love, being involved in the offense, and something that I wasn't really ready to relinquish just yet. I also believe the offensive packaging that we've built and developed, you know, over the last 4 years as a coordinator, is elite. I think how we're able to use personnel, how we're able to create a lot of different formations and put a lot of stress on a defense separates our system from a lot of others. And so being able to establish and build that foundation here for longevity and consistency in this program was important to me. And so those are some of the factors in that decision. I'm really excited that Avery and I get to go out there and see what we can do, you know, and we're going to be very, very aggressive. We're going to be very thorough in how we prepare on a week-to-week basis, but excited for him to cut it loose and see how many points we can score out there.
So when you were playing, Smoak and I talk about this all the time, and you were a Heisman candidate, Kansas State sent out Band-Aids as the little, you know, like, hey, vote for Colin.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Have you given any thought to bringing back the Band-Aid now that you are a head coach?
I sure hope to heck I don't need them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, those Sunday mornings, you know, I'm not as beat up as I used to be. If I need those, I'm in big trouble. I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. What is just being a part of, and what has being a part of Kansas State in every way since you were in Loveland, Colorado, and started to write things down on a note card? What has been the experience of being a part of Kansas State meant to you?
Oh, I think it's something I thank God for every day. You know, when I chose Kansas State back in 2007, it was because of the people, and I felt at home. I felt there was a genuine nature in how people cared and took care of one another. And it was an opportunity to compete at the highest level. And with big dreams and big goals, all I wanted was an opportunity and a chance. And little did I know that Coach Snyder would come back and help develop and build on a foundation that my parents had already set, that I would meet my wife, who is a women's basketball player here, or, you know, that her dad would have the family legacy to be in the, in the Ring of Honor here as well. And so many relationships on every level of our life. I'm just so grateful and wouldn't trade it or change it for the world. And very, very excited to be able to contribute and give back to a place that I care about and that I care about so much, and that is so special to our family.
Grant Taft told me one time that the recruits know where they're going to go almost when they get out of the car. Sometimes it can change, but when you get out of the car, you kind of know, oh, this is I just feel that it's innate. You feel it. It seems like that was maybe your case at Kansas State.
Yeah, no, I think it absolutely was. Deep down, it's where I knew I wanted to go. I was fortunate. It happened to be my only scholarship offer, so those lined up. I remember Coach Franklin called me at like 9 in the morning, and I think by 7 p.m. I was committed because I didn't want him to change his mind.
That is awesome. When Chris Kleiman, who we had on our podcast many times, we love the guy. When he called you, what did he tell you? I know that you also got the call from Gene Taylor. He joked about not having your number. But what was the call from Chris Kleiman? What was the main core of that you got out of it?
Well, it was, first of all, it was out of the blue. I mean, I woke up that Monday morning and had a text message from him and said that we needed to visit. And then, we were able to have a conversation that day. And Coach Kleiman and I's relationship has been special for a long time. And, when I was a young coach and he retained me when Coach Snyder retired, and we've always just had a very, very honest, direct, genuine relationship and care for one another. And that, I remember when he interviewed me in our conversation the first time when he retained me, the conversation when he promoted me to be the offensive coordinator, some dialogue through some opportunities through those last couple years that I was there. We've always just been able to be very, very come at the conversation or whatever we were talking about from a very, very caring, genuine place of care for the other person. And so when he kind of shared in that conversation that, it's time for me to move on, really, really want you to be the next guy. My first questions out of my mouth were all about him and how he was doing, because that's our relationship. Like, coach, like, are you sure? Like, you need to coach this game as long as you know you're supposed to coach it and you want to coach it, and so we had dialogue about some of the details of why he was making that decision. But that's just been our relationship for a long time. And that's very unique too, because I think sometimes this business can become so transactional, head coach to assistant to head coach, and not that obviously we're all trying to win games, and that's the bottom line. We get that, but Coach Kleiman's care for everyone in our program, player and coach, is on another level. And so he and I's relationship and through that conversation was very, very special and something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
What is the one thing Bill Snyder has told you since you've come back?
It was kind of a piece of advice that he started giving me about my junior year in college, and it really hasn't changed. And he would always tell me, he's like, do your best and be yourself. And when I was younger, that always frustrated the heck out of me, because I was like, we have a Hall of Fame head coach, absolute legend, and that's all you got. Like, there's gotta be some secret sauce somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but really, the older I get, the more I realize that's pretty deep advice, and I think learning the process of doing the very, very best that you can in everything that you do, while just being you and understanding that I'm going to put my own spin on things, and there's going to be some unique things here and there, but being very, very confident in that, being very, very secure in that, I think was a big part of my growth as a player down the stretch, in a lot of ways. I think that's been the main piece of advice that he's given.
I think you got 2 weeks until drills, practices, et cetera, start. So I know you got a lot on your plate. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Man, I was thrilled when the news came down that you were going to go back to your alma mater and be a part of the Big 12. We appreciate it, Colin. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the time.
Colin Klein, former Kansas State star. Paul mentioned the Heisman Trophy campaign. That's back when they started to change a little bit of that. You had the RG3 football card. You had the Colin Klein Band-Aid. And it was so cool. I think I still have that in a box. After we left the radio station, there was a bunch of stuff, and I think I still have that in a box. I ought to bring it up to here on the set.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, also, when Manti Te'o was there, we all got a fake girlfriend.
Yeah,
it was really
did.
great. We all got a fake internet girlfriend.
We all got a fake girlfriend FaceTime. Hey,
Yeah.
how you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you again to Katie Lanu, and also to Ryan Lackey. Thank you to K-State and Colin Klein. This is 365 Sports.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Of course, go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, we're talking ACC storylines as we head into March Madness. We're in the ACC tournament. They're not mentioned in this, but my alma mater, Florida State, won a game last night, playing Duke today. Not optimistic, but Luke Lauk's doing a great job. Number 5. Can SMU make it in? They are right there on Joe Lunardi's bubble list as one of the last 4 buys or one of the last 4 teams in. It kind of fluctuates throughout. They lost to Louisville the other day. That's going to be tough for them, but I do think they make it in with Andy Enfield there at head coach. I think they've got enough. I think there are enough bubble teams that aren't strong enough to get in, so they will get in. But with Miami, Ohio, losing today, that is a big thing because Miami, Ohio, according to Joe Lunardi, likely in as an 11 seed. That means the winner of their tournament will go in as well. So that league will get 2 bids. And where does that come out of? The ACC, the Big 12, the SEC? Whose bubble gets popped? SMU, watching that very nervously. Number 4, is Miami a sleeper? Jay Lucas has done a fantastic job in his first season as the Hurricanes coach. And let me tell you this. If you are trying to pick a bracket buster, somebody who's going to sneak up on people that may not have a super low number by their name, Miami likely an 8 or 9 seed. Miami is a team that could do it. They've been playing really well of late. Jay Lucas doing a great job, like I said before. They're coached well. They're athletic. They can make noise in this tournament. Number 3, it's Will Wade's first tourney at NC State. NC State just a couple years ago, under the previous regime, was a Final Four team. Then they weren't. Now Will Wade is there. He is one of the more controversial coaches in the country because of his tenure at LSU and the Adidas scandal and all those things that happened. But NC State kind of, to the front of the middle of the ACC pack this year. Good team, not great team. Let's see how they perform tournament-wise and see if he can build some momentum going forward. He's going to be talked about for major jobs all the time because people like Will Wade. They like that he's certainly willing to take chances and that he is not a BSer at all. So we'll see how NC State does and how that affects Will Wade and the Wolfpack moving forward. Number 2, how far can UNC go without Caleb Wilson? He's got a broken thumb. He had to have surgery on it, likely not to play in this entire tournament, and that is a bummer because since he's been out, you've seen the hole in the lineup that UNC has. Hubert Davis has a lot of work to do coaching them up and figuring out how to get over that loss of Caleb Wilson here at tournament time. They might as well have a turn up there because Caleb Wilson can't play. And it's unfortunate because he's one of the best players in the entire country, and not getting to see him play in the NCAA tournament is a bummer for all college basketball fans. Of course, unless you went to Duke, in which case you don't care about bad things happening to UNC. Speaking of Duke, let's go to number 1. Final Four bust for Duke. Yes, they've got some injuries, one of which is not going to play in the entire tournament, but they still have Cam Boozer. They still have John Shire. They still have really good depth on that team. They've been the best team in the country for most of the season. Do they not have some of their depth? Yes. But they are still Duke, and they are still lethal, and to think that an injury or two is going to slow them down might be a little naive. Now, are they way more vulnerable than they were just a week ago? Absolutely. But this has always been a Final Four or bust team for Duke this year with Cam Boozer at the center of it. Let's see how they do. That's going to do it for the top 5. Let's spin that wheel. Okay. The anticipation of this kills me every day. Oh, that was yesterday's wheel.
Yeah, spin it again.
Well, no, it's a video. Yeah, no. So we got a punt on the wheel. That was yesterday's wheel.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I can't believe I'm the only one that you mentioned. Oh, is it that? Oh, okay. Thought they were going to run it.
Were you surprised I wasn't a Lego guy?
Yeah, I was surprised.
I never really thought about that.
Lego was much more during my time. I'm not saying this. I've seen some videos of guys that do it. It's unbelievable. Okay, now, what do we got, Andrew? There we go.
Yeah, we can't see it.
I think we like the sound. Let's go to the quizzes. Let's go to the quizzes. 2 quizzes every day, and then 2 poll results from the day that we put it in the chat room. And by the way, one quick note while we're waiting. There we go. Tyrell Kirkham, who's a very big part of the Big 12 upper administration, is leaving to be a part of Charlotte's NBA franchise. That's one of your Mark's guys. And he was up in the marketing efforts at the Big 12. That just came down. Okay. All right.
Trivia. On this day in 2020, which major sports organization was the first to officially cancel its postseason, sparking a wave of cancellations across the other leagues? This led to the creation of the show, essentially. The NBA, the NCAA, the NHL, or Major League Baseball did not cancel their postseason because their seasons hadn't started yet, so it's not them.
The NCAA was in tune because Craig was at a game.
Yeah,
and
I think it's the NCAA.
But it was the night before when, who was it that mentioned?
No, guys, Rudy Gobert was the guy who set the whole thing off.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, like that was, I never even got to a game.
Yeah.
We went to Kansas City.
Yep.
I flew in that afternoon and sat at the hotel waiting for my co-host to arrive because he was on a later flight. And I sat there in the hotel room, and it was like the eeriest thing because there was a game going on that night, whatever the play-in or the early seed game was. And so there was people around, but it was also kind of sparse. And I was like, just like everything felt weird. It just felt weird. And the whole night was weird. And then sure enough, he finally got there and arrived, and he's like, hey, you want to go out to dinner? And I was like, I was just beat from traveling and everything. I was like, no, I'm just going to kick it here. So he goes out to like the Power and Light District and comes back. And when he gets back, we're sitting there watching TV, and that's when SportsCenter hits, and it's Rudy Gobert's tested positive, and everything just broke. All hell broke loose.
But he tested positive, but did they cancel
because they
games
did
before the NCAA?
They eventually brought it back, but did they cancel postseason? That's the question.
No,
postseason.
It's the NBA. If I'm wrong, I'll eat that. It's the NBA.
I mean, the NCAA was in conference tournament postseason. But, okay, let's go. NBA.
But when did they cancel it? After Rudy Gobert tested positive.
Yeah. It was the NCAA.
Well, no, he tested positive, but they didn't immediately cancel games. The NCAA canceled basketball immediately.
Yeah, because they were already in the postseason.
Okay, I'm thinking. I wasn't thinking about that the right way. Yeah, because they canceled it the following morning. So I'll take that loss, and I'll eat that. But yeah, it was a crazy day. I never saw a single game in Kansas City. I was there for less than 24 hours. That's my entire experience in Kansas City, Missouri. In my entire life, that was all I did was 23 hours and the first day ever of COVID becoming a national phenomenon. Went back to the airport the following day, and it was barren and weird, and everybody had no idea of how to act.
As the guy who had to rebook your flight.
I wish you would have left him there.
It was so – you want to talk about weird because, again, they also weren't on the same flight going, so I had to, try to get them on the same flight coming back.
Yep.
And our old owner was, barking at me you got to get him back here. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not a travel agent, but I'll get him.
And in hindsight, we were totally fine.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we were totally fine. We didn't catch anything at the airport. But then again, to be fair, just nobody knew what the hell was going on, man.
Yeah.
It was some mysterious disease from China. That's all we knew, that it was spreading across the globe. That's literally the extent of it. And now you're shutting down things left and right. And it was just a weird – it gives me a fun anecdote about I know where I was when COVID hit because I was in Kansas City, Missouri.
You might as well have just been in the airport the whole time.
Basically, yeah.
And look, hey, I'll tell you, that airport back then was a total crap hole.
Yeah.
Now
I remember.
Now it's huge
I
and
could
glorious.
do that in San Francisco and spend a couple of days.
You haven't seen the new Kansas City airport, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it's big. It's
it
actually looks like an airport and not a tire center.
Yeah, like a regional airport. It's
Okay, let's go to the next trivia question. Which legendary Blue Blood program holds the record for most NCAA tournament appearances of all time, entering the 2026 postseason with over 60 appearances?
I'm going to say North Carolina. That's just for whatever reason. God, those are all 4 really good.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
All of them are among the 4.
UCLA had 50 winning seasons in a row or whatever it was, but the tournament was smaller back then.
They had 10 of 11 national titles or whatever it was.
I think it's Duke, but
But North Carolina was better than Duke a decade or so earlier, back in the 60s, and Duke didn't really start making too many runs until the late 70s.
I don't feel like I should be allowed to answer after blowing the last question because y'all did have it right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I think of like the bluest of the blue bloods, I mean these are definitely the teams.
I think so.
I think y'all are not giving enough credit to Kentucky, however, and mentioning
Especially
North Carolina's been in it a bunch and Duke's been in it a bunch.
See,
and
the thing about Kentucky though is
they're in it like every year though.
But they've had like 4 or 5 years in the last 10 where they didn't make it at all.
Well,
which is why they
remember
keep going
what we
through
just had that stat yesterday that
all
they have,
time.
that they have been no less than 5th ever in SEC history. So that means they're getting in now, although the tournament was much smaller back many years ago.
Can I redeem myself, or do we just pick our favorite shade of blue?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's go Kentucky.
All right, let's say Kentucky. There you go,
Bang.
Craig. Yeah, Kentucky.
Bang.
Yeah, 62 recognized appearances dating back to 1942. The Wildcats also lead the NCAA in all-time tournament wins at 130 and games played 185 plus, while UCLA holds more titles, 11. Kentucky's 8 championships and sheer volume of tournament history make them the most frequent guest to the big dance, followed by North Carolina 54 and Kansas,
And see, Duke's
who wasn't
not
on the
even,
list.
I'm telling you, Duke did not start their run until
Duke was
late 70s, early 80s.
Duke's a new booty, for sure. As Q would say that, as we were referencing him like 4 times today. But I don't think I've ever read that specifically, but just Kentucky's history resonates, man, and nobody loves. I mean, I know Duke, and if you're gonna have an argument, it would be all the shades of blue: Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina. Let them have a room and just argue about basketball history.
Yeah. Was Kansas on that list of?
They weren't. He was not a choice.
Yeah, trying to fool us. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the poll questions.
The polls.
Who is Texas Tech's biggest rival in the Big 12 in 2026? Any of the Texas schools got 49%.
Yeah, so the Joey McGuire interview, he asked for some questions because we couldn't all be here for that one. And one of the questions that I was sitting there thinking, like, what would we not ask Joey before? And I started thinking about it, it's like, who is their rival now? Because the Baylor thing's lost steam because there was that built-in Joey versus his old school, but now Baylor's been so bad that it's like beating up on a poor kid or something. You know what I mean? Like it's some just poor kid that you're beating up on. So that feels like it's lost its luster. And then, TCU to varying degrees, Houston to varying degrees. So we couldn't have all the options here. And I wonder maybe we do who's their biggest Texas rival.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're going to have to include A&M and Texas to get the real feel for that. So I don't know. But this is interesting because Joey, you said, had a hard time kind of answering that. I don't know how much he's thought about it.
He immediately said, because they have what's going on now with BYU, Arizona State the last 2 years. But he kind of eventually went back into the schools in Texas, then mentioned Baylor, but it wasn't emphatic.
Oklahoma State in third at 18%, and that's because they're very similar type school. But Oklahoma State is the Texas Tech of Oklahoma, and Texas Tech is the Oklahoma State of Texas. And if you wanted to compare them that way. Okay, this next poll question, I'm told by Andrew, relates to the short that we shot earlier, which I shot Smokey was here for it, and he's mad at me because I did not pick Saving Private Ryan as my favorite Spielberg movie. You can go watch that. But which Indiana Jones movie is your favorite? Raiders of the Lost Ark ran away with it. The last 2 movies just got 1%. Last Crusade at 19%. Ahead of Temple of Doom at 12. Smokey, have you ever seen any of the Indiana Jones movies?
I saw the Raiders of the Lost Ark because that was the part when Harrison Ford did Why Does It Always Have to Be Snakes?
Yes.
And that's the only, the other ones I have no clue.
Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite Spielberg movie of all time, not to spoil the short. But, Craig, where do you stand on this?
I would have said Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. I do not care about the newer Indiana Jones movies. I don't think I've seen either one of those all the way through, and I don't think I'm missing anything based on 2 movies put together got 1% of the vote.
Crystal Skull's garbage. Dial of Destiny's not too bad. He's just too old.
Yeah, I don't really care for old Indiana Jones at this point, so I stick with the classics. And, if I had to choose one, I remember my uncle one time, his side of the family really, we didn't get to see them very often because they live far away. But when we did, we typically go to like a cafeteria buffet style place, and I don't remember which place we were, but I remember I was young enough to be naive, and my Uncle Philip trying to convince me that red Jello was monkey brains, and for some reason,
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it for some reason that's always stuck with me, and it's from Temple of Doom, and that's where he got it. And I have like that core memory of being at whatever vague restaurant, like a Golden Corral or something, and him telling me this red Jello was monkey brains, and that is my Indiana Jones story. It's like my Uncle Philip and red Jello monkey brains.
Yeah, chilled monkey brains. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And also, they had a scene in that one where they cut a snake open, and the babies slithered out of it.
That's
and they were
always
eating
my
live
nightmare. That remember when I saw a what do you call the big spider on my stairwell?
A tarantula?
Yes. I walked up the stairwell, was going to put something in the back of my car. Then I thought, I was like, yeah, was that a frog? And then I got the light, and it was a tarantula on the stairwell. And so I went and got a big, huge torch lighter and maybe a hammer or something like that. Then my biggest fear was, what if I hit it, it's pregnant, and there's 1,500 tarantulas?
Yes.
So I did burn it. And then I smashed it, and there was none. But
so
that
you didn't
would
think
be
about what if I set my house on fire trying to kill this?
No,
Well,
this
look,
spider.
here's the thing. Some things
Then
are
I lit a
worth
cigar.
some things are worth the sacrifice.
Like again,
But as you've seen in Arachnophobia, that doesn't even guarantee that you
can
killed
you
all
just
of them.
imagine, though? I mean, literally, you go and a snake, and it's not poisonous, or it is, or whatever, and you go and you slam it in its body, and then 15 of them come wiggling out.
I rented that movie Arachnophobia on
Oh.
a date in high school one time, and I didn't realize how afraid of spiders my date was. It ruined the night for me.
Yeah,
One
no,
of
I
the
bet,
all-time dumbest movies. She's like, no, I'll watch it. And then, like, by the halfway through the video, she was just
That's
like...
not
She wasn't clinging to you?
She was like, she was just like, no, it's fine. It's a comedy, right? And it's like...
No, the scary
it's kind
movies,
of, yeah.
the girl scary movies that you want are slasher flicks, so
Yeah.
that you can like, oh, I'm scared, hold me, and
Yeah.
then the tarantula, like I'd be like, hold me, like
they
I
were
mean,
just like
screw that.
They were just
man.
like, and she was just, it's like it's icky, it's
No,
icky,
it's
yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
it's
it was like-
terrifying.
yeah, because it's realistic. Like
yes,
you
that
know,
could very well
yeah.
be sort of close to reality. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, there we go. That's all for that.
Max Olson wrote an article earlier this week about tampering, since we brought that up earlier with the Big Ten's note. And he'll join us tomorrow, and a couple of others will have updates from what happens tonight, the Big 12 semis, and a bunch more.
Yeah, I want to just ask y'all, I mean, to do an interview and then just kind of let it sit there, but your impression of Colin Klein,
I think
like in
he's
talking to him.
I think
in
he's
control.
He's in control. I think he's very
young.
I wish I could have been here. I had
but he-
an appointment. I couldn't
But
be
he's
here.
very relaxed.
Yeah.
He's very relaxed, and I mean that's what Chris Kleiman was at first, and then when he became not relaxed, that's when
Right.
it did. So yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
What did he say?
We do have a wheel if you guys want to.
Okay.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure. Want to
Yeah.
close it out?
Okay. Okay.
The suspense is killing me.
Yeah. Have you ever ridden a horse before?
All
Oh,
that
yeah.
for have you ridden a horse?
Yes.
I was wondering
Yes.
what we were gonna get.
Yes, I have. I've not been a long time.
We did it Hot Springs, Arkansas.
I've ridden horses a few times, not anything like crazy, just like on random trips, and I enjoy it. I like riding horses. I had a couple moments of just like you got to be very careful. I mean, certainly because they react differently. But yeah, for the most part, I've only had pleasure going on a horse ride here and there, and being around animals like that. It's awesome.
I watch like Yellowstone or things where like they all know how to ride, and it makes me jealous of my horse rides that are just trot. But also, I'm not confident. I would never be confident enough to be like, let's run together, horse. Like,
yeah, no.
yeah.
Yeah, they're such powerful, monstrous, not monstrous in a bad way, just powerful athletes or animals, humans / whatever they are.
They're definitely not humans.
They're not mammals.
They are mammals.
They are mammals.
So are
they
humans.
really? They're
So are
mammals?
humans.
Horses?
Humans are mammals. We're mammals.
No, horses.
Horses are mammals.
Okay.
What would they
about
be?
reptiles?
They're not a reptile. They're not an
Reptiles are
amphibian.
reptiles.
And they're not a fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's only 4 kinds of.
Logan, I can see that laugh. But you are done with
See, here's the thing. Don't let Stephen F. Austin see this, or they will rescind.
Or Tyler Junior College.
Or-
and
yeah.
that might be why.
Or Chofu High School, or anything.
Or
like
Dakota.
No, yeah.
Or Randolph. Okay. Rez, thank you very much. And Logan Begesti, we appreciate both of you for what you did. Andrew Valade, of course. Garrett was here earlier. We're back again tomorrow. We do appreciate all of our sponsors. Thank you to the viewership, because without you, we're not here. Well, we might be, but we'd be talking to ourselves. For Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Have a great night. This is 365 Sports.